Chapter 3185. This was a hidden base hidden in the depths of the mountains. There was no way out, and even entry and exit required the use of helicopters. All signals in the sky above the base were blocked. Even civil aircraft were prohibited from flying over here. They had to choose a detour. This was the base of China's strongest and most hidden sharp blade of the nation. The soldiers who could appear here were the top special forces in the entire army. Every one of them had extraordinary instincts. Every one of them was brave and skilled in battle. Every one of them was a soldier worthy of everyone's respect. At the same time, this was also her goal. She had worked hard for several years, just so that one day she could reach here and become one of them. However, it was not easy to become one of them. She had fought alongside her comrades in the Snowfield Brigade many times. Until now, she was only a reserve member. She belonged to the category of reserve members who would be immediately expelled if she made a mistake and would need to be reevaluated. The helicopter did not land at all. It circled in the air a few times before flying away with a rumbling sound, leaving behind the fog and snow. The snow in the mountains was much deeper than outside. Yi Qian, who was descending vertically from the helicopter, stepped on the ground. The snow was knee-deep. Every step he took required him to pull his feet out of the snow. Otherwise, he would not be able to walk. "Do you want me to give you a hand?" Han Jing asked enthusiastically. At the same time, he stretched out his hand. As soon as he stretched out his arm, he was hit by a palm. Then, Wu Yu, whose face was flushed, smiled coldly and said, "Brother, the main character is following behind. You move to the side. Don't get in the way." Wu Yu, who had returned yesterday, had solved an important matter in his life and successfully met up with Jiasin at school. At the same time, he had successfully confirmed their relationship. The price he paid was that he was beaten up ruthlessly by Jiasin. Wu Yu was in a good mood after beating up. In the end, he was afraid that his girlfriend's hand would hurt, so he took the beating and said, "Save your strength. Don't hit me too hard in one go. Don't hurt yourself. Let's beat him up separately." And Jiasin, who was still showing her manly side, was coaxed by these words that were not sweet nothings, but could make her happy. She immediately stopped and said reservedly, "Since you said so, then fine. I'll record today's debt. I'll beat him up again when I recover my strength." Without a teacher, Wu Yu, who knew how to dote on his girlfriend, immediately agreed without saying anything more. Thus, he coaxed in Jiasin, who was a manly girl, even happier. Thus, in the next few days, Wu Yu's life was very comfortable, better than that of an immortal. Now that she had a taste of love, she couldn't help but become a spiritual teacher. She lectured Han Jing righteously. "You can't do this. How can you touch Yi Qian? She already has a boyfriend. Even if she can't pull her leg out, it's not up to you to help her. With Captain Xia around, he will take good care of his girlfriend." After saying that, he ignored Han Jing's dark expression and smiled at Yi Qian. "Am I right?" "Very right." Yi Qian nodded approvingly. Then he added, "In the army, I don't have a boyfriend. I only have a captain. So, please treat everyone equally. Forget that I still have a boyfriend." He reminded his comrades that these were not the days they were living outside. They were all soldiers with high ideological awareness. Yi Qian's reminder immediately made them react. Very quickly, their casual smiles disappeared, and their gazes narrowed slightly. Chapter 3186. There were not many combat personnel in the Snowfield Brigade. Only 2 teams were assigned to carry out high-risk missions, while the rest of the selected soldiers had yet to graduate. After several rounds of selection, they still had to go through the most brutal training before they could carry out high-risk missions. Only by wearing the Snowfield Brigade's armband on their arms could they be considered real Special Forces soldiers of the Snowfield Brigade. Yi Qian, who was walking over in the deep snow, was at least 20 meters away from the Special Forces soldiers who were already standing in formation in the snow. A strong, murderous aura washed over him. Although this murderous aura did not have a physical form, it felt substantial. With every step he took, it was as if there was an invisible barrier blocking his path. He needed to have the aura of a mountain before he could take the next step. Their gazes were extremely heavy, like the mountains and seas, deep and distant. When he focused his gaze, there was an aura of desperation in front of him. Yi Qian, who was walking towards them, had already straightened his back very, very straight. Every step he took was very, very steady. Facing their murderous aura, Yi Qian did not let Xia Jinyuan accompany him. He just walked straight into the world of these mysterious ace special forces soldiers. She had to walk towards them on her own. She could not rely on anyone's help, nor did she need any encouragement. What she needed was to overcome all the difficulties that prevented her from joining this top-notch individual combat team until she got close to them. Why do I feel like they're trying to show Qing Niao who's boss? Captain, should we go and talk to them? It's her first day, so there's no need to be so harsh, right? T6 combatant Wu Yu said in a low voice. His tone was filled with concern for Yi Qian. It was Yi Qian's first time back, and the team was already in such a state. Would it leave a bad impression on Yi Qian? If it left a bad impression, what if Yi Qian got unhappy and just left? G3 combatant Yin Rong also felt that this show of strength was a little inappropriate. Just as T6 combatant had said, since it was Qing Niao's first day at the base, they should at least let her see the friendliness of the base, even if they did not hold a grand welcoming ceremony. Now, these people who had stayed behind were all like mountains. The murderous aura they had been suppressing was all exposed. This show of strength was not friendly at all. Let's talk about it. These people are a little too much. V8 was also a little annoyed. They had fought alongside Yi Qian several times and already regarded Yi Qian as their comrade. In their hearts, Yi Qian and their comrades in the line in front of them, they were equally matched. 2. Pigeon, Blood Eagle, White Crane, and the others had fought alongside Yi Jian before. They couldn't possibly give Yi Jian, who had just arrived, a show of strength. Someone had ordered them to give Yi Qian a show of strength on the first day. From the moment she got off the helicopter and entered the Snowfield Brigade's aviation field, she was no longer Yi Qian. She's also no longer the Qing Niao we know. Here, she's just a new recruit who has to start from scratch. Put away your pity for her. Here, she doesn't need pity. She needs iron skills. What is pity? Pity is nothing. From today onwards, remember this. She's here to learn how to become a real Snowfield Brigade Special Forces soldier from the Snowfield Brigade. Your pity is not to protect her, but to strangle her. Chapter 31, 87. Xia Jinyuan, who came down from the helicopter, spoke. The moment he spoke, his words were cold and heartless, without a hint of warmth. This was the captain of the Snowfield Brigade. He was cold-blooded, impartial, and highly capable. He was deeply loved and respected by his comrades. His words were like melted water on a snowy mountain, emitting a bone-piercing chill that flowed into the hearts of his comrades, causing Wu Yu and the others to shudder violently. That's right, Yi Qian was no longer Yi Qian here, and Qing Niao was no longer Qing Niao. She was just a recruit who had to start over. G3, when the time comes, bring her to the recruit company and give her a week's time to defeat 30 recruits. If she can't defeat 30 recruits in a week's time, immediately report to the Major General and revoke her status as a reserve member. Xia Jinyuan, who had already switched identities, gave the order. G3 immediately puffed out his chest and said in a low voice, "Yes, sir." Here, Xia Jinyuan was no longer the Xia Jinyuan from the outside world. Here, no one had a name or a surname, only a code name. A code name that represented one's identity and could also erase one's identity. After the order was given, the comrades who only had code names looked at their captain in surprise. Within a week, defeating 30 recruits, this was even more ruthless than a show of strength. What was even more ruthless was that if Qing Niao's status as a reserve team member was revoked without defeating the recruits, it would be equivalent to Qing Niao being useless no matter how many achievements she had. With such ruthlessness, wasn't he afraid that Qing Niao would really throw up her sleeves and quit? Even G3, who had received the order, felt a little uneasy. The Snowfield Brigade was the top and most secretive special ace combat team in the country. Here, they had their own set of rules. The rules of the Ace Corps in the outside world were not as strict as the Snowfield Brigades. He was no longer the Xia Jinyuan they could joke around with outside. When he entered work mode, Xia Jinyuan was their king, and a king's dignity could not be challenged. His girlfriend, Yi Qian, was out of the question. Xia Jinyuan walked in front of G3 and the others, then stopped and looked at the figure walking towards his comrades with a deep gaze. Yi Qian, from today onwards, you are a recruit of the Snowfield Brigade. Today, you will enter the Snowfield Brigade and see clearly what the special base is like under the mysterious veil. Here, even training involved sacrifices. You've already put in a lot of effort to get to this base. You've already endured a lot of pain that ordinary people can't bear. Today, you've finally fulfilled the promise you made to me. One day, I'll become the person you are today. Yi Qian, today you have indeed become the old me. Xia Jinyuan, who was standing in the snow-capped mountains, watched as his beloved girl fearlessly walked forward. From the initial heavy steps to the current light and brisk steps, she was like a flying eagle. Even if there was a bottomless abyss in front of her, she still fearlessly swooped down. This finally made him smile. From the beginning until now, his lover had never let anyone down. From the beginning until now, her original intentions had never changed. The T6 combatant and the others laughed. No matter how big the opening gambit was or how unfriendly it was, the Qing Niao they knew had always been someone who was not afraid of trouble. No matter where she went, she would be able to instantly adapt and take root. It was not impossible to defeat 30 recruits in a week. Qing Niao had the ability to do something that seemed impossible. Qing Niao were the powerful female soldiers. The 30 recruits of the new recruit company, get ready to receive the attack. The powerful female soldiers will show you what it means to be strong. At this moment, the T6 combatant and the others still did not know how big the opening gambit would be, so they could still laugh for the time being. Chapter 3188. V8 and the others had gone from their initial worry to their current anticipation. Yi Qian walked on fearlessly in exchange for her comrades' peace of mind. They waited patiently for the final result. They believed that the final result wouldn't disappoint them. Walking in the snow, Yi Qian couldn't clearly see what the Shuiyu base looked like in the depths of the snowy mountains, but she could feel the murderous aura of the Special Forces soldiers standing in a straight line. She didn't know why, but she wasn't afraid at all. Instead, she felt her blood boiling. As she walked faster and faster, her soul seemed to break free from the shackles, breaking free from the iron chains that bound her and made her blood boil. She liked it here. She liked to get along with this group of Special Forces soldiers who were full of murderous aura. They were all her targets that she wanted to defeat. Only by defeating them could she walk to Captain Xia's side and finally stand side by side with him. The dopamine in her brain became more and more concentrated as she walked faster. Her entire cerebral cortex was abnormally excited. In the end, she realized that walking wasn't enough to satisfy her, so she decided to just run in the thick snow. How could one really run happily in such a thick snow? But Yi Qian ran. She ran until the snow was kicked up by her, stirring up a thin layer of snow. Xia Jinyuan wanted to laugh out loud when he saw this, but he restrained himself. Qing Niao flew like a phoenix soaring. His little fox wasn't an ordinary female soldier. How could his little fox be intimidated by a small display of strength? She liked to challenge all kinds of difficulties, so she would only get more excited when faced with difficulties. Just like the first time they fought side by side, he saw an inextinguishable fire in that skinny little girl's eyes. It was this inextinguishable fire that supported little Fox all the way to where she was now. It was indeed very difficult to defeat 30 recruits in a week. It might even be impossible. He thought about it again and again while accompanying her for a few days. After careful consideration, he finally gave this order. It was for no other reason than to let the veterans in Pigeon's unit know of Qing Yao's abilities and let them accept Qing Yao's existence in advance. It could be considered as establishing and accumulating strength. The male soldier who welcomed the only female soldier in the team had been waiting for a long time. Calculating the time, they had been standing in the snow for at least an hour. When they heard the sound of a helicopter coming from midair, they didn't need to raise their heads to know that the helicopter carrying the female soldiers had arrived. The cabin door was pushed open, and a figure who was much smaller than the male soldiers completed the first jump. Her movements were clean and neat, and there was a sense of awe-inspiring vigor. The laymen were there to watch the show, while the professionals were there to see the artistry. Just this one movement had surprised them. What perfect jumping movements! How was he a military academy student? He was clearly a veteran. When he came down, he saw her walking normally first, then walking faster and faster. In the end, she started running. The slender figure running made them realize that the captain's so-called show of strength had no effect on her at all. Instead, it somehow stimulated her. Her adrenaline surged, and the concentration of the neurotransmitter dopamine soared. She turned from walking to running. Looking at the running figure, the special forces who had been standing still for 2 hours began to discuss. How is it? I told you that our new female soldier is different. Do you see that? Look at that posture. So awesome. You still don't believe us? We have completed several missions with her. We have the most right to say whether she is awesome or not. Do you believe us now? Brothers, you should be more careful. Later on, we won't be the ones hitting her. It is very likely that she will hit us. Chapter 3189. It's coming, it's coming. Get ready, the show of strength is about to begin. A Special Forces soldier, who had never interacted with Yi Qian and only knew her name, rubbed his fists. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he waited for Yi Qian to come. He wanted to see how strong his future comrade was. If we beat her until she runs away and never comes back to our team again, you guys can't blame us. But how can Qing Yao be defeated so easily? Just you wait, kid. Don't get beaten up by Qing Yao until you cry. K7 replied coldly. His eyes were filled with joy at Yi Qian's arrival. It was great that they could finally see Yi Qian in the base. I won't cry, but I'm worried that the female soldier we waited so long for will run away after we beat her. Everyone will regret it so much that their intestines turn green. We can't help it. We didn't want to. We weren't the ones who wanted to show strength to the female soldier. It was the captain. If we want to settle the score, we have to settle it with the captain. It's good to test the female soldier. If she runs away because of our show of strength, it's better that she doesn't come here. With her current skills, she can definitely join the special forces in the military region. The chances of her being sacrificed will be much lower. It's understandable that the captain wants us to do this. However, even if we can understand, we still have to see if the new female soldier will understand. If she can understand, then she will understand the captain's good intentions. If she can't understand, then it's better for her to leave early so that in the future what? So that in the future, she won't be sacrificed because she isn't strong enough. The Special Forces soldiers who were waiting for Yi Qian all understood Xia Jinyuan's intentions in this way. As for Xia Jinyuan's real intentions, only he himself knew. The surrounding comrades discussed softly, and those who were familiar with Yi Qian fell silent. If that was really the case, they hoped that Qing Yao could understand the captain's painstaking efforts. They knew that Yi Qian would one day become a real Special Forces soldier of the Snowfield Brigade, so they had been waiting for her arrival. However, they didn't expect that when she arrived, what awaited her was not applause, but one show of strength after another. The figure got closer and closer. When she was 3 meters away from the formation, the Special Forces soldiers who were standing like pine trees suddenly spread out and quickly surrounded Yi Qian. F*CK. What are they trying to do? Z7 Han Zhang was shocked, and he immediately asked Xia Jinyuan, Captain, what order? These guys are murderous intent. Do they want to fight? Wu had already started rolling up his sleeves. Fight? To bully our Qing Yao? How? Captain, aren't you afraid that Greenbird will fling her sleeves and quit? Even Yin Rong, who was usually calm and didn't like to speak, couldn't help but ask. It would have been fine if they had shown their strength during the formation, but they could also explain that they had run too much in the midst of gunfire and were stained with blood. Unknowingly, they would reveal their killing intent. It was a fight. This was obviously a fucking fight, with Yi Qian. Xia Jinyuan slowly put on his combat gloves and said calmly, "It's been a long time since I've seen a group fight. Let's go take a look." A group fight? You mean a group of people are surrounding and attacking Qing Niao? V8 stared at him in shock. "Captain, did you and Qing Niao quarrel in school over the past few days? Did Qing Niao give you a hard time? But you're using your position to take revenge for a personal grudge?" V8 did not dare to say this out loud. He could only grumble in his heart. At this point, T6 completely understood that this fucking fight was also an order from his captain. Chapter 3190. Ruthless. How ruthless? How ruthless? Wasn't he afraid of being so ruthless that he wouldn't have a girlfriend? Even if he didn't say it out loud, Xia Jinyuan could guess it. He looked at his comrades who were already carrying out his orders and said calmly, "It's not that easy to get into the Snowfield Brigade's base. You'll have to have some ability to get in. Qing Niao is already very capable. What else do you want?" The T6 combatant was on Yi Qian's side. Feeling a little annoyed, he questioned him directly. "You're making things difficult for her." "Making things difficult? Which eye of yours saw me making things difficult for her? Do I have to make things difficult for her?" The T6 combatant gritted his teeth and said, "I saw you making things difficult for her with both of my eyes. Q King, you can't do this. More than 20 of our brothers are ganging up on Qing Niao. Even if she has 3 heads and 6 arms, it'll still be difficult for her to win. Fair? Is there a need for fairness in a group fight? Have you ever seen a fair group fight?" Xia Jinyuan, whose decision was being questioned, did not get angry. They did not understand his deeper meaning, and he did not need them to understand his intentions at the moment. He just did not know if someone as smart as Qing Niao would be able to understand his intentions. "I'll apply to join her camp. There's no fairness in a group fight, so it should be fine to have outside help. Right? What are you still standing there for? Let's go. Are you going to stand here and watch Qing Niao get taken advantage of?" V8 combatant Yang Shulin pushed the angry Wu Yu away and ran off with his luggage. When G3 combatant Yin Rong and Z7 combatant Han Zheng saw that Xia Jinyuan did not object to having outside help, they threw their luggage into the snow and ran several meters away. Only Xia Jinyuan, who should be the most concerned about Yi Qian, walked steadily step by step. A group fight of 20 against 1 was indeed unfair, but there was nothing wrong with having outside help. It was feasible to get these brothers who were very close to Qing Niao to provide support, and their performance did not disappoint him. Even if they had to contradict him as their leader, they still had to go and support Qing Niao. Not bad. Qing Niao, who had just arrived, already had a good start. She was much luckier than before. So far, no one had guessed Xia Jinyuan's intentions and had no idea what he was up to. When Yi Qian saw the group of young soldiers suddenly surrounding her with murderous intent, she reacted quickly and took off her thick coat. They were still running. She folded the coat and placed it gently in the snow. Then, she began to unbuckle her belt. In a fight, she needed tools in her hands. Tools were the best helpers. With tools in hand, she would be more confident. Yi Qian took off her clothes and unbuckled her belt. She wore a tight-fitting sweater, camouflage trousers, and thick military boots as she stood in the middle of the encirclement. Her dark eyes stared intently at the group of Special Forces soldiers who exuded a murderous aura. She clenched her fists and tightened her belt, entering into a state of unarmed combat. She had already scanned the Special Forces soldiers surrounding her. There were many familiar faces among them, such as K7. Although he also exuded a murderous aura, there was a slight smile in his eyes as he welcomed her arrival. Seeing the smile in K7's eyes, Yi Qian calmed down a little. She even smiled back at him as a form of greeting. She scanned her surroundings again and saw pigeons, cranes, eagles, sparrowhawks. These were all her comrades who had fought alongside her in the past. They were all familiar faces. Now, they had all surrounded her. Their expressions were cold, and their auras were fierce. The Special Forces soldiers surrounding Yi Qian were all official members of the Snowfield Brigade. They were not reserve recruits, so there were not enough of them. There was also a small team that had gone out on a mission and had yet to return. Chapter 3191. Yi Qian counted and saw that there were a total of 20 team members surrounding him. This scene was truly a new experience. Captain Xia did not tell him about this before he came. It seemed like he had done it on purpose. He wanted him to make her remember her first day at the Snowfield Brigade's base unforgettable. What was there to be afraid of? You want a group fight, right? Come, count me in. Outside, Z7 came over with a cold voice. Before the fight started, he rushed to Yi Qian's side with G3 and glared at his comrades surrounding them. Captain said that we can have outside help in a group fight. I'm in the same camp as Qing Yao, so let's warm up. Following that, T6 and V8 also rushed to Yi Qian's side. Qing Yao, don't be afraid. We'll accompany you, T6 said in a low voice. Just fight as hard as you can. It doesn't matter if you're injured or crippled. Just fight as hard as you can and don't show mercy. King Q gave the military order, so they won't show mercy. You don't have to worry. Sure enough, it was Captain Xia's order. He had told him a long time ago that if he stepped into the Snowfield Brigade's base one day and became a member of the Snowfield Brigade, he would not be her boyfriend, but her soldier. There would be no difference in treatment, so he had to be mentally prepared. What he said a long time ago still counted. It was in line with Captain Xia's code of conduct. Hearing T6 advice, Yi Qian smiled and said, "Okay, I'll remember that. They should be fighting in groups of 5. The 5 of us will also be in a group. Let's see if we can fight to the end." "Don't worry, we'll definitely fight to the end," G3 answered Yi Qian. In the midst of the confrontation, a cold and sharp voice pierced through the air. "Are you guys going to keep chatting? What are you still standing there for?" It was King Q, Xia Jinyuan's voice. It was so cold and sharp that it made people's hearts clench. His imposing manner made the surrounding Special Forces soldiers move quickly and neatly to make a path for their captain, so that he could see Yi Qian, who was surrounded in the middle. Yi Qian looked at Xia Jinyuan calmly. Xia Jinyuan looked at her, a complicated light flickering in his dark eyes. Then he asked Yi Qian, "Do you feel scared? Have you ever thought of quitting?" Originally, he wanted to talk to her after the fight, but who would have thought that they would actually make way for him, which made him a little flustered. The T6 combatant was right. There was no fairness in a 1 versus 20 group battle. It was precisely because he knew that it was unfair that he didn't tell her. He was afraid that he wouldn't know how to face her if he told her. He didn't dare to face it, so he decided to avoid it altogether. In the end, as soon as he opened his mouth, these guys directly asked him to come face to face with her. They almost made him turn around and leave. Fortunately, he restrained himself from running away and met her calm gaze, allowing the panic in his heart to slowly calm down as he opened his mouth. Yi Qian met his gaze but didn't answer immediately. She just quietly looked into his dark eyes, trying to see through his dark and unfathomable eyes. His usually dark eyes were a little complicated today, as if he had something to say to her, but he held it back. Was he trying to tell her why he had arranged this group fight? After a while, Yi Qian shook her head and smiled as she replied, "I'm not scared. I never thought of leaving since I came here." To be honest, she didn't believe that they could really cripple her. At most, they would injure her, or at worst, break her bones. Her answer made Xia Jinyuan heave a sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. They didn't scare her away and didn't make her think of quitting. Chapter 3192. Then let's start the 10-minute rotation. Xia Jinyuan nodded slightly and gestured for his comrades to surround Yi Qian again. When Yi Qian was surrounded again, Xia Jinyuan, who was standing outside, let out a long sigh of relief and quietly spread out his tightly clenched fists. The temperature was minus 10 degrees Celsius, and his palms were sweaty from the brief exchange of glances with Yi Qian. The rotation began. Fist against fist, leg against leg, and all of it was close combat. Yi Qian was the main target of the Special Forces. A male soldier who had never fought Yi Qian before threw a fist straight at Yi Qian's face. Just as the T6 combatant had said, they were all serious and not playing tricks. The fist came at him with a strong gust of wind. Yi Qian quickly dodged it and threw a straight right punch at his opponent's head. Her punches were very fast and powerful. Her punches were like hammers swinging out. As long as her fist connected, the bridge of his nose would probably be broken. The male soldier immediately defended himself. Before he could attack, Yi Qian pulled back his right fist and clasped his fingers together on his right hand. He used his fingertips to stab at his opponent's throat. This was the throat grab technique in combat, the most commonly used move in close combat. You do have some skills. The male soldier single-handedly grabbed Yi Qian's right hand that was grabbing his throat and pulled it tight. At the same time, he raised his long leg and kicked at Yi Qian's chest. If this kick connected, Yi Qian would break at least one of his ribs. Outside, Xia Jinyuan, who was standing on high ground, tensed up when he saw this. Fuck, when these guys start fighting, it's always a fierce battle. They won't hold back at all. Qing Yao, you have to hold on. Don't hold back. Fortunately, Qing Yao managed to dodge it. If the Snowfield Brigade's Special Forces soldiers were paying attention at this moment, they would realize that their captain, who was staring at the scene, was even more nervous than when he was fighting himself. He was clenching his jaw so hard that the veins on his forehead were popping out. Yi Jian dodged his kick and turned her body sideways. The two of them were caught in a tug-of-war, one on the left and the other on the right. She pulled and used her left hand again. Her left hand was faster than her right hand. Almost in a second, she reached for his throat again. This move really gave the male soldier a fright. What a fast movement. He hurriedly let go of her right hand and dodged to the side rather pathetically to avoid Yi Qian's fingertips stabbing at his throat. But this time, he wasn't as agile as before and wasn't able to immediately grab Yi Qian's left hand. He dodged Yi Qian's attack, but didn't manage to dodge Yi Qian's left kick. Yi Qian, whose blood was boiling, used extreme force to hit the male soldier's chest with her elbow and raised her left foot to hit the male soldier's diaphragm in the abdomen with the tip of her left foot. After using these two moves consecutively, the male soldier, who was careless, lost twice in a row and was quickly knocked to the ground by Yi Qian. Captain Xia had once taught her that the left fist was a bluff and the right hand was the real attack. But she wasn't. After testing, her left fist was 6 seconds faster than her right fist. This meant that while other people's left fist was a bluff, her right fist was actually a bluff. The male soldier was kicked out and bumped into 2 other Special Forces soldiers. Fortunately, he didn't fall because he bumped into them. Ha 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 ha, you were careless. They already said that Qing Yao was good. Did you really think they were joking? The 2 Special Forces soldiers who were bumped into pulled their comrade up. Seeing their comrade get kicked, their expressions were filled with schadenfreude. Ha ha, who asked him to be so smug and couldn't wait to show off? He deserved to be kicked. Chapter 3193. The male soldier who was teased mercilessly by his comrade clutched his abdomen in pain and said to his comrade, "No, I wasn't joking just now. I used all my strength the moment I went up. Qing Yao is very strong. Also, be careful of her left hand. Her left hand is faster than her right hand. I'm at a disadvantage here. Qing Yao is left-handed. She's not like a left-hander. Her right hand is also very agile. She's different from the average left-hander." The male soldier who was kicked over was also out of the game. After rubbing his abdomen and chest, he waved his hand and walked out. "You guys go up. Take turns for 10 minutes. Only 3 minutes have passed. The rest is up to you guys. F***CK, it really hurts." She was indeed ruthless. She used all her strength to kick him, and it felt like his intestines had been kicked out. No wonder those comrades who had worked with Qing Yao before would come back and say how powerful Qing Yao was. Male soldiers couldn't gain any advantage against her, and sometimes they were even worse than her. He really believed it this time. Such a powerful female soldier should be in their team. The battle of attrition had already trampled the pure white snow into mud. Yi Qian was fighting with a group of Special Forces soldiers for the first time. It was as if she had gone crazy. She hooked her left hand around the male soldier's neck and pulled him down fiercely. At the same time, she raised her knee and aimed it at the male soldier's heart. That kind of ruthlessness made the male soldier's heart tremble. He quickly covered his chest with his hands and blocked Yi Jian's knee that was about to hit him. Then, he hugged Yi Jian's waist and tightened his grip. He was so tight that Yi Jian's breathing became sluggish, and she lost all her strength. The world spun around her. The male soldier hugged her waist and threw her into the snow. The moment Yi Jian fell, her calf clamped around the male soldier's neck. The battle situation suddenly changed dramatically. When she fell into the snow, the male soldier was also clamped by her legs and fell into the snow. No one took the opportunity to kick the male soldier when he fell into the snow. Yi Jian was different. In attrition warfare, the enemy outnumbered her. When she fell into the snow, not only did no one help her up, a few long legs were already kicking her. "Qing Yao, be careful!" V8 roared and threw one of his comrades over his shoulder. He immediately rushed over to support Yi Jian, but the other Special Forces soldiers did not give V8 a chance. They blocked his path and punched him. With his path blocked, V8's face darkened as he looked at his real comrades. Yi Jian did not have time to get up. She could only roll on the ground like a snowball, avoiding the kicks of several long legs. V8, who had been forced to the point where she could not get up after several unsuccessful attempts, cursed, "Mother asterisk her. You'll get it later. I'll teach you a lesson later on." The comrade who was scolded pretended not to hear it. They themselves also felt that they were quite deserving of a scolding. Ganging up to bully a female soldier. What kind of men are they? But the captain had said that if he saw them skimping, not only would they be punished, but Qing Yao would also be punished. If the captain wanted to be ruthless, how could they not be ruthless? Yi Jian, who was covered in snow and mud, did not roll for long. When a long leg came for her chest, the belt in her hand wrapped around the other party's ankle like a snake. The male soldier with the blanket wrapped around his ankle knew that things had gone south. He looked at the female soldier who was rolling in the snow, and a cold light flashed in his dark eyes. His snow-stained hands tightened the belt around the male soldier's ankle so that he could not withdraw his leg immediately. Chapter 3194. When the other soldier saw this, he lifted his leg and aimed it at Yi Jian's shoulder. This kick was fast and fierce. No matter how fast Yi Jian dodged, the thick military boots still hit her shoulder, causing her entire shoulder to feel a sharp pain. Even though Yi Jian was in so much pain that her face turned pale, she did not loosen her grip on the belt. As she dodged, the soldier with the belt around his ankle lost his balance and was dragged into the snow by Yi Jian. Yi Jian did not let him off just like that. She leaned to one side, grabbed the soldier's calf with both hands, and flipped him over. "Heroine, please show mercy. This is not a real fight. Not a real fight." Her action was equivalent to breaking the soldier's calf. The other two soldiers who wanted to kick her were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. They immediately retracted their long legs and shouted at the female soldier to stop her. "Oh my God, she's really ruthless." That viciousness was truly comparable to theirs. Yi Jian got up. Her body, face, and even hair were covered in snow. She looked at the soldier coldly. Then the corners of her mouth turned up slightly. She asked with a faint smile, "Do you want to continue?" No. I'm sorry for offending you." See you. Oh my God. Even her eyes were filled with killing intent. Qing Yao really lived up to her reputation. Outside, a few Special Forces soldiers, including Pigeon, who had been eliminated, stood in front of Xia Jinyuan. They saw the female soldier Qing Yao being knocked to the ground. They saw her rolling and dodging in the snow. Her unyielding attitude was like the waves in the sea hitting the reef. Even if the sun and moon had changed, she would still be proud. "Captain, that's enough. Our original intention was not to fight with her, but to sincerely welcome her." Pigeon couldn't bear to watch any longer. She softly advised, "She's already very impressive that a few of US couldn't defeat Qing Yao. If this continues, I'm afraid something bad will happen." Xia Jinyuan lowered his head and looked at the timer. There were still 3 minutes to the end of the 10-minute battle. Qing Yao had knocked down 4 soldiers, but she had also been knocked down 4 times. When she was knocked down on the 5th round, she used her belt to knock down a soldier. The battle was still tied. 3 minutes to the end. After 3 minutes, let Eagle fight Qing Yao alone. Xia Jinyuan, who was handsome and indifferent, was not moved. He even ordered his subordinates to send a special soldier to fight Qing Yao alone after the tiring battle. When he gave the order, Pigeon's expression changed. The other soldiers' expressions also changed. He actually let Eagle fight. "Captain, you don't really want to scare the female soldiers away from the base, do you?" The pigeon opened its mouth and wanted to say something. But before it could say anything, Xia Jinyuan looked at it indifferently and said, "Do you need me to repeat it?" "No need. I'll be right there." Pigeon's expression became serious. She stood with her legs together and her chest puffed out. Military orders had to be obeyed. After Pigeon left, Xia Jinyuan asked his comrades, "Look at Qing Yao's battle. If one of you were to fight her alone, would you be able to defeat her? I want to hear the truth. This is a test for Qing Yao. The results have to be reported to the military for her to become an official member in the future." The soldier who was kicked by Yi Qian was still clutching his stomach. He smiled bitterly and said, "Captain, you're making fun of us. With Qing Yao's skills, it would be difficult for me to win if I were to fight her alone. I can only try my best to fight her to a draw. Qing Yao's skills are above average. It would be difficult to win if I were to fight her alone. Plus, her hands are very agile. Her attacks are fast and fierce, and she has enough strength. I'm not confident that I can win against her. I might lose." This was the truth from another soldier. Chapter 3195. The Special Forces soldiers who were knocked out by Yi Qian all thought it would be very difficult for them to win. They were only eliminated because they were knocked out by her. So how could they dare to say they could definitely beat her? They could only try their best to beat her. Xia Jinyuan then looked at the other comrades who were knocked out by T6, G3, V8, and Z7. He asked, "What about the rest of you? What do you think?" "I don't have any opinions. If I had to say something, I can only say that hearing about her is better than meeting her in person. It was only after meeting her that I realized what my comrades who fought with Qing Yao said was true. She's indeed very skilled. I agree. She's even more amazing than I imagined." "Me too. I really didn't expect a female soldier to fight with a group of male soldiers. She fought until the male soldiers couldn't get close to her for a while and even knocked out several of them. I'll see you again after being in the military for a few years." Although they had not fought against Yi Qian, their words were already filled with admiration. When Xia Jinyuan saw this, a faint smile appeared on his lips. Qing Yao would never let anyone look down on her. Wherever she was, she would always leave behind a story that would surprise and make people admire her. 10 minutes had passed. With the sharp sound of a whistle, the tag team battle ended. The anger in T6's heart had yet to dissipate. When he saw his comrade immediately let go of his grip when he heard the whistle, he was so angry that he raised his leg and kicked his comrade in the buttocks. He growled, "Fuck you." The Special Forces soldier who let go of his grip was not prepared for T6's sneaky trick behind his back. He was kicked so hard that he fell forward and landed in the muddy snow. After getting up, he retreated to T6's side and said through gritted teeth, "Damn, if you're so capable, just kick the captain. Why are you taking it out on me? Do you think we'd dare to do that without the captain's orders? Qing Yao is a female soldier. We can't even wait to give way to her. How could we possibly give her such a hard time on her first day?" T6 smiled coldly and answered his comrade, "I only kicked you because I didn't have the guts to kick the captain. You're honest. I have nothing to say. You'd better not say anything. If you do, I'll punch you again." T6 waved his fist and glared at his comrade before running to Yi Qian's side. At this time, Yi Qian was not as clean as she was when she got off the helicopter. Her body was covered in snow, and so was her face. Her fair and beautiful face was also covered in dirt. Only her eyes were the cleanest. When the T6 combatant saw this, he gritted his teeth and said, "I shouldn't have kicked him too hard just now. It's useless to kick him. I feel like he still has more moves to use." He reminded Yi Qing Yao, There was nothing for her to be afraid of. If they wanted to fight, she would fight to her heart's content. Steam was coming out of her hair because of the hot sweat. She panted and said to her 4 comrades who were protecting her, "If there's anything, I'll take it. There's nothing to be afraid of. The 4 of you make way. It's not a group challenge." Pigeon walked over and instructed her 4 comrades who were still surrounding Yi Qian, "Stop dawdling. The sooner we finish this, the sooner we can let Qing Niao go back to the dormitory and change into clean clothes. You guys don't want her to get sick from the cold, right?" Hearing that, T6 and the others left reluctantly. Before they left, they even said to Yi Qian, "Don't be afraid. We'll keep an eye on you. If anyone dares to move, we'll beat them up." When they said that, the 4 people who had left all glared at Pigeon. Chapter 30:196. Pigeon expressed his innocence. This was his brother, so he didn't want things to turn out this way either. Someone walked out. The tall man was wearing a thin, camouflage suit. His facial features were resolute and his skin was dark. He stared coldly at Yi Qian and said, "Come, let's have a one-on-one spar." So it was a one-on-one duel. Yi Qian, who had not yet calmed down, smiled. "All right." Yi Qian, who had not even seen the Snowfield Brigade's base, was the first to be challenged in a group duel, followed by a one-on-one duel. T6, who had stepped away, saw clearly that Yi Qian's comrade in a one-on-one duel was a famous wrestler in the brigade. His mouth twitched fiercely. This guy was from Mongolia and was a brave soldier. Just his tower-like body alone could drive a tank into a car. He was strong, skilled, and agile. It was fun to fight with him, but it was just hard to fight him. Eagle, that guy. He's really shameless to challenge Qing Yao to a one-on-one duel. He's several times bigger than Qing Yao, T6 muttered softly. Since he could not do anything to help, he could only watch helplessly. "Don't worry, Eagle can't beat Captain." And Captain said before that Qing Yao's skills are not to be underestimated. Even he has suffered at the hands of Qing Yao before, so Eagle might not be able to beat Qing Yao. V8 said softly, "Now that the group duel is over, Qing Yao just needs to defeat Eagle, and the rest will be easy to handle." I wonder how many one-on-one duels have been arranged. Qing Yao might be able to handle 2 one-on-one duels, but I'm afraid it'll be a little difficult to handle more than that. It depends on who's arranged. Eagle can handle 2 people by himself. If you get punched by him, your bones will probably crack. Captain's arrangement is really a little ruthless. After the group duels, he doesn't even have time to rest before immediately going for a one-on-one duel. I'm worried that Qing Yao will run away and then do something with him. Wouldn't that be terrible? That won't happen. Qing Yao gets stronger when faced with a strong opponent. She won't be separated from Captain easily. Qing Yao was not afraid at all. Look at her eyes. They were so bright that they seemed to be burning a fire inside. Let's wait and see. Even Captain is not anxious. Let's not be anxious. He will have his own arrangements. V8 saw that T6 was so worried about Yi Qian. After comforting him, he sized him up with a strange look in his eyes. "Are you on good terms with your girlfriend?" "What do you mean it's all right? We just confirmed our relationship, so of course it's good." The T6 combatant glared at him. "Don't spout nonsense, do you hear me? Then why do you always care about Qing Yao? Look at me. I know Qing Yao as well, but I'm not as worried as you are. My girlfriend was Qing Yao's junior high school classmate and high school classmate. The 2 of them were so close that they could wear the same pants. It's all thanks to Qing Yao that my girlfriend and I can be together. How can I not care about her? F***CK. With this relationship, I'll get Qing Yao to introduce a girlfriend to me later. No, my girlfriend is my best friend with Qing Yao. You don't have a chance." V8 reacted quickly and said with a smile, "Then I can get your girlfriend to introduce her classmate to me. We're not talking about finding a girlfriend for you now. We're talking about fighting." Eagle is so F***king shameless. He even attacked first. Qing Yao beat him up. T6, who had been watching the confrontation between the 2 sides, was still talking about personal matters a second ago. But the next second, he changed the topic. He stared at Eagle, who had attacked first, with a dark look in his eyes. He wished he could rush up and beat him up. V8 did not say anything else. When he saw Eagle coming up with a chokehold, he also cursed F***CK. Are you bullying Qing Yao because she's not as tall as him? Beat him up, Qing Yao. He definitely had to beat him up. The big guy's sudden sneak attack made Yi Qian realize that although the Special Forces soldier in front of him was the biggest, he was very agile. His methods were wild and deadly. Chapter 3197. A direct chokehold, not giving the other party a chance to live. But that was how close-range combat worked. Every move was a killer move. Killing the opponent in one move was also a form of protection for oneself. Yi Qian dodged de Condor's sneak attack. Xia Jinyuan, who was watching from outside, felt his heart settle down. De Condor was the most stubborn and experienced soldier in the entire team. He rarely went out on missions and was usually in charge of the team's training. Therefore, as the team leader, Xia Jinyuan had to give him some face sometimes. By letting de Condor out, the other team members could better see Yi Qian's true strength. Taking turns in a group battle was to let the team members see Yi Qian's bravery. Taking turns in a one-on-one fight was to let the team members see Yi Qian's true strength. De Condor moved as fast as lightning. Yi Qian wasn't bad either. The moment de Condor's arm was about to lock Yi Qian's throat, Yi Qian used his right arm to block de Condor's chokehold and used his arm strength to ease the pressure on de Condor's shin. Then he used his left arm to elbow de Condor's ribs. He was full of strength and didn't hold back at all. De Condor used a killer move right from the start. She didn't need to hold back her strength. What she needed to do was to escape from his grasp. De Condor's move is a sure kill move. None of the new recruits were able to escape from his sure kill move. Qing Yao managed to escape and even counterattack. Did you guys notice that her close-range combat skills are similar to de Condor's? Really? I didn't notice that. If you guys look closely, you'll see that Qing Yao's combat skills were most likely taught by de Condor himself. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so similar. If it was really taught by the captain, the eagle wouldn't be able to gain much of an advantage in the hands of Qing Yao. Also, Qing Yao's movements are quite nimble, and the strength she uses is also quite great. She has the advantage. It'll be a bit difficult for de Condor to beat Qing Yao. Don't forget, Qing Yao just finished a 10-minute round of taking turns in a group battle. She's already exhausted a lot of her energy. Under such circumstances, if it's still difficult for De Ying to defeat Qing Yao, it's actually equivalent to Qing Yao having already defeated De Ying. Looking at the situation in the field, a few Special Forces soldiers discussed in low voices. Seeing the ferocity of the female soldier and the martial arts she used, they secretly gave her a thumbs up in their hearts. As the saying went, seeing once was better than hearing 100 times. No matter how much Pigeon, T6, and the others usually praised Yi Qian, they were not as shocked as seeing him with their own eyes. It's a good show. We'll only know who wins and who loses after we see it. If Qing Yao can really win, then she is much stronger than the recruits. It wouldn't be surprising if she lost. After all, the 10 minutes of wheel battle exhausted her stamina. It's normal for her to lose. Was it normal to lose? Xia Jinyuan listened to the hushed discussion of his comrades, and there was silence in his dark eyes. No, he hoped that Qing Yao could win. He really hoped that Qing Yao could win. Only by winning would the resistance in front of them be reduced. Only then would more people be convinced and accept her. He hoped that Qing Yao could win. She had worked so hard for so long to enter the gates of the Snow Region base and reach where she was today. He was more afraid of her losing than anyone else. But it didn't matter if she really lost. She had already won the attention of many of his comrades. If she really lost, she still had 2.5 years to work hard and re-enter the gates of the Snowfield Brigade. If she really lost, he would accompany her to fight again. Yi Qian, who was in the midst of a fierce battle, did not know of Xia Jinyuan's worries. She had not fought with a strong soldier for a long time. Today's battle was exhilarating even though her body was in pain. The more he fought, the more exhilarated he felt. The more he fought, the more ruthless he became. Chapter 3198. Her fierceness and excitement were clearly seen by her comrades who were watching from the sidelines. She was really amazing. She got more and more excited as she fought. Her desire to win was really strong. As a soldier, one must have the desire to win and strive to be the best soldier. Xiao Jinyuan saw her fierceness and relaxed a little. You can do it, Qing Miao. Keep it up. Victory will not be too far away from you. G3, who was watching from the other side, inadvertently saw the faint smile in Xiao Jinyuan's eyes. Seeing that he was staring at the green bird fighting in the field, G3's eyes could not help but narrow slightly. There must be a deeper meaning behind the captain's arrangement. He couldn't figure out what the deeper meaning was. If J5 was here, he might be able to guess a thing or two. But now that J5 was gone, there really wasn't anyone in the team who could figure out the captain's intentions, who was a godlike commander. Good. G3 suddenly heard a round of cheers, followed by thunderous applause. They were all cheering for Qing Miao's performance. A second ago, Yi Qian leaped into the air and used his legs to kick De Jiao, who was as big as a mountain, into the snow. Then, he did a backflip and landed steadily. This kick made De Jiao's heart jump a few times. He rubbed his sore chest and quickly got up from the snow to prevent a second attack from the female soldier. He got up very quickly and didn't give Yi Qian a chance to attack again. De Jiao fought with Yi Qian for the first time. He had heard Pigeon and the others say that she was very strong. No matter how strong a woman was, she couldn't be stronger than a man. That was what he thought. In reality, a female soldier who had trained her arm strength and could hold a sniper rifle in her hands for 10 hours without moving and could even shoot steadily at the target. Her strength was so strong that even a man would feel inferior. Now, he believed it. Qing Miao was really very strong. When she kicked with both legs, he couldn't even stabilize his body. His lower body was unstable, and he didn't even stagger. He was directly kicked down by her. Without a certain amount of strength, it was impossible to kick him down with a single step. The two of them started fighting again. The eagle tried to grab Yi Qian's shoulder and force her to kneel down and admit defeat, but Yi Qian didn't give him the chance. One of her shoulders was grabbed behind her back. She raised her head abruptly and hit the eagle's chin with the back of her head. She hit the eagle so hard that she nearly bit off her own tongue. His chin had been hit so hard that his entire face felt numb. He couldn't even focus his vision. Yi Qian took this opportunity to break free from her captive arm and launched a series of ferocious attacks. This time, she attacked the giant eagle's chest. How strong was Yi Qian? Xiao Jinyuan understood this very well. Therefore, when he saw Yi Qian use all his strength to hit the eagle's ribs with his elbow, Xiao Jinyuan lowered his head and covered his thin lips with his fist to hide the smile on his face. Brother, you're in pain. Brother, I can tell from your expression that you're in so much pain that your internal organs are in a mess. Giant Eagle wasn't in so much pain that his internal organs were in a mess. He was in so much pain that his intestines were a mess. The female soldier, Qing Miao's strength, was indeed very strong. He wanted to control his facial expression so that it wouldn't look so hideous and ugly, but he really couldn't control his facial expression. It was too painful. Thus, the Special Forces soldiers who had formed a circle saw the biggest man in their team, Giant Eagle, get hit in the chest by the female soldier. He was in so much pain that his facial features were distorted and his expression was hideous. Tisk, it really hurt for him. Even if it hurt, he had to endure it. Even if it hurt, Giant Eagle knew how to use his ultimate move. Chapter 3199. After so many years of assassination, it had already become a conditioned reflex to use any kind of killing move under any circumstances. Before he could think of anything else, the killing move had already been executed. His strong and muscular arm wrapped around Yi Qian's neck again. He was so strong that the veins on his arm looked like cobwebs, and the veins on his arm were clearly visible. He used all of his strength and was able to strangle Yi Qian's neck to the point of breaking her cervical vertebra. Yi Qian could already feel the male soldier's murderous aura. She knew that her 2 consecutive attacks had ignited the male soldier's murderous aura, and he was about to launch a fatal attack on her. But she wasn't afraid. She could do the same thing. The watching Special Forces soldiers knew that the fight had reached its climax, so they were waiting to see how Yi Qian would deal with this move. Yi Qian grabbed the male soldier's hand with one hand and used all her strength to stop the male soldier's arm from wrapping around her neck. She then used her elbow to hit the male soldier's chest hard again. Her position did not change. It was still the same spot she had hit so hard. Before the first wave of pain passed, another wave of pain followed. Feeling pain in the same spot twice, the pain made Eagle unable to control his facial expression. It was so painful that his facial features were all distorted. Eagle's grip on Yi Qian's neck loosened a little from the pain. The female soldier who had been wrapped around by him earlier took the opportunity to crouch down slightly. At the same time, she suddenly grabbed his arm with both hands and let out a low shout. She wanted to throw Eagle to the ground. The female soldier, who was not even half the size of Eagle, actually wanted to trip him and throw him over her shoulder. Could she do it? The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became very excited. All of the Special Forces soldiers had the same reaction. They stared intently at Yi Qian, who was struggling in the field, looking forward to seeing what other moves she would use to deal with the situation. For some reason, watching the female soldier Qing Niao fight with the male soldiers was inexplicably more exciting than watching the male soldiers fight each other. Qing Niao, go for it. Beat Eagle to the ground. Beat him to the ground. Don't hold back. Don't give the captain any face. Use as much strength as you can. As long as he doesn't fall to his death, everything is negotiable. The ones who said this were naturally the T6 combatants. Pigeon, Sparrow Hawk, and the others had also joined the camp. Amidst the jeering of his comrades, the eagle, who knew Yi Qian's intention, had already reacted. It lifted its sturdy leg and fiercely hooked Yi Qian's calf, using the twisting force of its leg to try to throw Yi Qian back. The pigeon came over to convey the captain's order. He knew that he would definitely be the villain who bullied the female soldiers today. He didn't even have the chance to refuse. However, since she wanted to become a member of the Snowfield Brigade's Special Forces, she had to endure some hardships. He couldn't show mercy to her just because she was a female soldier. There were only soldiers in the team, and there was no gender. Yi Qian was never afraid of close combat. At this time, although the eagle was still behind him, his focus had already shifted. Yi Qian, who was still in his original position, hugged the eagle's left shoulder tightly. When the eagle, who still wanted to use the strength of its leg to flip Yi Qian over, saw that Yi Qian had suddenly hugged his left shoulder tightly, he muttered in his heart, "Oh no." He quickly pulled back his leg and immediately stabilized his center of gravity. The eagle was from Mongolia and loved to wrestle since he was young. He had an advantage over the other soldiers, so it was very difficult to throw him like this. After Yi Qian failed twice, he understood that this Special Forces soldier who was like a small mountain in front of him was not so easy to deal with. Yi Qian did not panic when the eagle escaped again. He quickly raised his right leg and kicked the eagle's calf fiercely. Chapter 3200. This was also the most painful part. Sometimes when she was hit in the calf while walking, it hurt so much that her eyes teared up. Not to mention, Yi Qian used a lot of strength to attack. Eagle was in pain twice in a row. He knew that he couldn't attack from the back and had to change his tactics. With the pain in his chest and calf, Eagle knew that the girl in front of him was not to be trifled with. After retreating, he didn't attack immediately. Instead, he rubbed his shoulders to create a tense atmosphere where he would go all out next. Yi Qian moved her ankle. Her calf muscles felt like they were being strangled by his calf. It was not easy to defeat a male soldier who was both strong and big. It didn't matter if it was not easy. She had to fight anyway. Little did she know that Eagle didn't manage to defeat Yi Qian twice. Instead, she fought back twice. The Special Forces soldiers who were watching were so shocked that they wiped their faces. If the female soldiers were so ruthless, weren't the male soldiers a little too cowardly? Eagle, who was in pain, continued to attack with his fists and legs. There was no pause in between. He threw his fists first and then swept his legs. He would try to use his killer move when Yi Qian couldn't parry. Choking was Eagle's specialty. He was fast and could kill the enemy in an instant. Faced with the continuous attacks from a male soldier, Yi Qian chose to dodge. When his long legs swept past, the wind from his legs made her face hurt. If she fought back, she would be at a disadvantage. She would be in pain for at least half a month. She couldn't take this loss. I'm afraid Eagle is going to use his specialty again. He wants to force Qing Niao into a mess. Then he can strike while the iron is hot and defeat Qing Niao. Qing Niao is smart. She has escaped from Eagle several times. Now that Eagle is going to use his specialty again, she will definitely fight for a chance to survive. They've been fighting for 10 minutes. Did the captain set a time limit? Eagle hasn't subdued Qing Niao yet. I think Qing Niao has already won. It wasn't just these few Special Forces soldiers who thought that Qing Niao had won. All the spectating Special Forces soldiers thought that Qing Niao had won. G3 walked up to Xia Jinyuan and asked, 10 minutes have passed. When do you plan to end it? You want your comrades to see how strong Qing Niao is? I think they've already seen it. Qing Niao didn't even call for it to stop. So why are we in such a hurry? Xia Jinyuan replied to G3 calmly. Once one party calls for it to stop, it will naturally end. He didn't call for a stop. The fight continues. It was not enough to just see Qing Niao's capabilities. They needed to let their comrades see more and better of her. G3, whose expression was dark and unclear, pursed his lips. After a while, he sighed softly and asked, Captain, do you have any special arrangements for Greenbird? Yes. Xia Jinyuan didn't hide anything from his comrade. It should be said that the military has a special arrangement for Yi Qian, and I happen to have the same intention. So there really was a special arrangement. That would explain why today's incident had happened. The Special Forces soldiers of the Snowfield Brigade only respected those who were strong. If they weren't strong enough, they would suffer a lot when they joined the team. For example, their captain had been parachuted into the team with the halo of an all-around ace soldier. In the end, he still suffered a lot. It seems like the military wants to arrange for her to be in a special position, a responsible position. G3 smiled when he understood. And you're afraid that what happened to you back then will happen to Qing Niao. So you went all out against Qing Niao on the first day you met her, right? If I don't go all out against her, do you expect me to wait for you to go all out against her? Xia Jinyuan glanced at him and said coldly. Chapter 3201. G3 felt that it was time to stop this topic. If they continued asking, Captain would bring up old scores. That wouldn't be good. But did Qing Niao know Captain's intentions? Did she know the military's arrangements for her? If she didn't know, what if there was a misunderstanding between the two and ruined their relationship? Wouldn't it be terrible if Q King, who finally had a girlfriend, was dumped? G3 didn't dare to say it out loud. He was afraid that he would be harshly reprimanded by Captain. But he was right. He would rather be harsher to Qing Niao himself. It was indeed better than someone else being harsher to Qing Niao. Just looking at it made his heart ache. Who asked him to be Qing Niao's boyfriend? A boyfriend watching his girlfriend being harshly attacked by his comrades must be very upset. Previously, he was envious that Captain had found a like-minded girlfriend. But now, he really wasn't envious anymore. Watching his girlfriend being beaten up without being able to do anything, he really wasn't as hard-hearted as Captain. He couldn't be completely indifferent. G3 didn't see that the seemingly indifferent Captain was secretly clenching his fists so tightly that his palms were about to bleed. It wasn't that he was indifferent, it was that he had no other choice. Xia Jinyuan heard G3's words. They really couldn't wait for both sides to be injured before ending the one-on-one. Besides, he didn't bring Yi Qian here to be beaten up by the soldiers in the team. He just wanted to let Yi Qian see the strength of his comrades, and let his comrades see Yi Qian's strength. He wanted Pigeon's team to acknowledge Yi Qian even more, so that she wouldn't face so much resistance when she took up a position in the team in the future. What happened to him when he first joined the team would be less likely to happen. Killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Seeing Eagle take the initiative to attack for the 4th time, Xia Jinyuan finally showed mercy and said to G3, Everyone has taken the initiative to attack 5 times. Eagle has already taken the initiative to attack 4 times. Go and remind the two of them. G3 glanced at him and nodded lightly. In the field, Eagle's attack was fast and fierce. He was determined to subdue Qing Niao in this attack. The surrounding Special Forces soldiers held their breaths and didn't even dare to blink, afraid that they would miss the exciting moment. Yi Qian's reaction was faster than the eagle's, so the speed of her attack was naturally faster as well. Before the eagle could complete the choke technique, she had already reacted quickly, thus giving herself a chance to survive. Such a sharp and quick reaction showed that Yi Qian's skills were extraordinary. Eagle. Each person only has 5 chances to initiate an attack. This is your 4th time initiating an attack. Qing Niao, you still have 2 chances to take the initiative to attack. After 5 rounds, if you still haven't subdued your opponent, it's a draw. G3's gravelly voice reminded the eagle that it was right to challenge Yi Qian one-on-one, but it didn't mean that you could attack endlessly. You only had 5 chances to initiate an attack. If you didn't succeed in all 5 attempts, you would have to leave and the duel would be over. Hearing this, the T6 combatants heaved a sigh of relief. Eagle had already taken the initiative to attack for the 4th time, so he only had 1 last chance left. Following this, as long as Qing Niao defended and blocked Eagle's 5th attack, the match would be a draw. Even if it was a draw, Qing Niao would still win. When Eagle heard that he only had 5 chances to initiate an attack, he became even more ferocious. From his fists to his kicks, Yi Qian, who had blocked his attack, was knocked back so hard that his body swayed. What great strength! There was no way he could fight him head-on. If he did, he would only be at a disadvantage. The 4th attack was neutralized by Yi Qian once again. Eagle, who had not spoken during the fight, could not help but ask Yi Qian, "Are you really a female soldier? Don't tell me you're not a male soldier with 2 buns stuffed in his chest." Chapter 3202. His voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't soft either. The surrounding Special Forces soldiers could all hear him. Thus, the entire arena fell silent. F***CK. Big Eagle, are you blind? It wasn't Yi Qian who was scolding, but the V8 players outside the arena. He actually said that Qing Niao wasn't a woman, but a man. Have you ever seen such a beautiful man? How can a man be beautiful if he's Qing Niao? Don't you know how to speak? The person with the darkest expression was Xia Jinyuan. When Big Eagle said those words, he even deliberately glanced at Qing Niao's chest. What the F***CK are you looking at? Remember this. I'm a female soldier, not a man. The only person who wasn't affected was Yi Qian. He calmly replied to Big Eagle and said, "You only have 1 last chance to attack." Big Eagle knew he had said something wrong when his comrades were scolding him. However, the female soldier also reminded him that he only had 1 last chance to attack. He hurriedly said sorry. Big Eagle kept his mouth shut. It was best not to talk in a fight. The words that came out of his mouth didn't even cross his mind. Big Eagle's last attack was even more ferocious than the previous ones. The previous attacks were more or less probing, but by the 5th attack, he used his fist to tell Yi Qian that he was treating her as an opponent. Yi Qian felt that being treated as a real opponent was also a form of respect for him. Yi Qian, who was in pain from blocking with his arms, had a fierce look in his eyes. Just as Big Eagle used his long and strong legs to kick Yi Qian repeatedly, Yi Qian stopped dodging and blocking. After blocking with his arms a few times, both of his arms were numb from the kicks. When the surrounding Special Forces soldiers of the Snowfield Brigade saw the female soldiers' nimble movements, they wanted to clap their hands and cheer. Now they all believed that the female soldier Yi Qian was indeed very strong. She really wasn't any worse than them. The eagle had not gained any advantage in its first 4 attacks. If this continued, the eagle might not be able to win. Perhaps Yi Qian would be able to defeat the eagle. Pigeon said to another comrade who had never worked with Yi Qian before, "How is it? Now you know how powerful she is. We already said that we might not be able to win against Yi Qian in a one-on-one fight. Now that the eagle has attacked for the 5th time, it still hasn't defeated Yi Qian. By the time Yi Qian counterattacks, he should have already left the stage." Bai He, who had only worked with Yi Qian once, smiled and joined the conversation. It's difficult to defeat Yi Qian. The eagle didn't stand a chance. In the first 10 minutes, Qing Niao didn't even take a break. Instead, he immediately threw himself into the one-on-one battle. Even if it was a draw, Eagle would still lose. If it was a draw, Eagle would probably have to lower his head whenever he sees Qing Niao in the future. Pigeon then laughed loudly. He has a bad temper. Those 30 recruits suffered a lot in his hands. After the fight, he still said that the recruits weren't good enough. Now that Qing Niao has joined the team, let's see if he still dares to say that the recruits aren't good enough. Bai He, who was an assaulter during the mission, had only worked with Yi Qian once. Just this one time, Yi Qian had left a deep impression on him. After so long, when he saw Yi Qian's skills again, he was full of praises for him in his heart. This Special Forces soldier, who had never worked with Yi Qian before, heard his comrades speak the same words. Looking at the fight in the arena, he had no choice but to believe it. He nodded lightly to show his approval. She's really good. You guys weren't bragging before. Does she still need us to brag about her skills? Pigeon smiled and sighed. There's no need at all. Her skills are right in front of us. It's enough to prove it. Look, she's starting to counterattack. Eagle has already lost its 5th opportunity to attack. In the arena, Yi Qian didn't dodge anymore. Instead, he used his legs and heels to kick Eagle's abdomen, chest, ribs, and other parts in a more agile and swift manner. Chapter 32:03. When Yi Qian attacked for the first time, Eagle immediately retracted his leg and used the strength of his arm to block Yi Qian's attack. Every time he blocked, Eagle's arm would become numb. After being kicked 3 times in a row, G3 said to Yi Qian, Qing Niao, Eagle has used up all 5 of his attacks. He didn't win, so now it's your turn to attack 5 times. As long as you can pin Eagle down, you'll win. Eagle's 5 attacks didn't succeed, so the surrounding Special Forces soldiers all understood that this round was actually a draw. Also, the enemy on the battlefield wouldn't give you a 10-minute chance just because you've already fought with someone else for 10 minutes. Although a one-on-one duel wasn't like a battlefield and there were rules, it was still a battlefield where victory and defeat could be determined. When the 2 people in the arena heard this, the defending team and the attacking team switched positions and entered the last round of combat. Eagle, who was now the defending team, started to defend against Qing Niao's attacks. He realized that the female soldier's punches were much faster than before. Her attacks were all sure-kill moves like his. That's right. He almost forgot that the female soldier in front of him wasn't an ordinary female soldier. She was a soldier who had been on the battlefield and killed enemies. Her hands were stained with blood. How could a soldier who had been through the smoke and fire of war be looked at with normal eyes? Good. Wonderful. Exciting. Outside the arena, Yi Qian's leaping kick made Eagle stumble a few times. The Special Forces soldiers in camouflage started to clap and cheer. Looking at the 2 people in the arena who hadn't finished their duel, K7 had some complaints about Xia Jinyuan's arrangement. He didn't have any objections to a one-on-one duel because it would let his comrades see Yi Qian's strength and they would accept him more quickly. But why did he have to arrange it on the first day? Wasn't he bullying Yi Qian? And she was his girlfriend. He was so ruthless even to his own girlfriend. Did he really think that no one was thinking about Yi Qian anymore? Did he really think that Yi Qian couldn't do without him? To be so ruthless, he was really ruthless. K7's thin face was a little cold. If Q King did not give Qing Niao an explanation and a reason, he would not be able to face her. In his eyes, there was really no female soldier who could compare to her. What more could Q King want if they could beat her? Back then, Qing Niao had entered a foreign base alone to rescue him. When he thought that he would definitely die in a foreign country and was ready to sacrifice himself, Qing Niao came. He told him that his comrades from the Snowfield Brigade had come to rescue him. At that moment, he treated Qing Niao as a comrade who had gone through life and death together. Only a comrade who had gone through life and death together would risk his life to save another comrade. He hoped that Qing Niao could stay and become a member of the Snowfield Brigade. He didn't want her to be rejected in the end. Qing Yao, you must win. Not for anything else, but for yourself. For the rest of the time, K7's gaze never left the field. He kept looking at Yi Qian and silently cheered for Yi Qian in his heart. He was not the only one who secretly cheered for Yi Qian. Those who knew Yi Qian and those who had fought side by side with her all secretly cheered for Yi Qian in their hearts. From the beginning to the end, Yi Qian had won countless cheers. Eagle placed one hand on his stomach and smiled at the female soldier who was warming up and covered in snow and mud. Qing Yao, you are the strongest female soldier I have ever seen. Your appearance overturned my understanding of female soldiers. You made me realize that female soldiers are much stronger than male soldiers. I offended you just now. Please forgive me. Chapter 3204. The duel was over. Yi Qian didn't win, but she didn't lose either. She couldn't subdue Eagle within 5 moves, and Eagle couldn't subdue Yi Qian within 5 moves either. The two were tied. Yi Qian thought it was a tie, but Eagle didn't agree. He said, although I wasn't subdued by you, I've already lost. Qing Yao, you're really good. There aren't many soldiers in our team who can escape from me, a Mongolian wrestler. You're one of them. So he was a Mongolian wrestler. Could it be that he knew some wrestling moves? It's not that I'm good, but I've seen Mongolian wrestlers before. I've even sparred with them before, so I know how to neutralize their strength. But your moves weren't wrestling moves. I just felt that they were familiar, so I used some techniques. Hearing this, Eagle, who was wiping the sweat on his forehead, laughed loudly. Qing Yao, you can even tell? I modified the moves and techniques used in wrestling, and then added them into close combat. This time, I trained with the recruits. None of the 30 recruits found out, and none of them could neutralize my moves. They couldn't even survive 5 moves from me. But in front of you, my moves are not enough. After that, Eagle stretched out his hand that was wiped clean on his camouflage uniform and said to Yi Qian, welcome to our base. I'm Eagle. From the moment we knew that you would come, all of our comrades have been looking forward to your arrival. Just now, when I found out that I had to come out for a duel, I was very scared. I was scared. Eagle, who had shaken hands with Yi Qian, raised his head and looked at his comrades who were neatly gathered around. He laughed loudly again. I was scared that I didn't know how to control my strength. If I hurt you, I wouldn't be able to explain it to these comrades who were looking forward to your arrival. Don't be fooled by how serious they look now. In fact, in private, stop talking nonsense. Nothing good comes out of dog's mouth. We don't expect you to say a few good words for us. Leave. There's nothing for you to do now. Leave. We'll introduce them to Qing Yao ourselves, so you don't have to worry about it. You were kicked by Qing Yao just now, right? You deserve it. You should have kicked him a few more times. It's best if I kick you until you're in so much pain that you can't talk nonsense. Hoping to get something good out of the eagle's mouth? Impossible. Not at all. Voices rose one after another, causing the murderous atmosphere to instantly become cheerful and relaxed. Yi Qian looked at the tough and young faces and saw the friendly smiles in their eyes. Even though her legs were trembling, she could still smile happily. Standing in the dirty snow, there was a smile in the eyes of the female soldier. Even though her face was covered in dirt, her black eyes were still dazzling under the sunlight, like the boundless stars and the bright sunshine. Her smile, without any impurities, flowed into the hearts of every Special Forces soldier of the Snowfield Brigade. Assemble! The whistle sounded. A few seconds later, the Special Forces soldiers, who had been watching from the sidelines, lined up neatly. 20 people formed 2 columns, with 10 people in each column standing like long spears. With the mountains as the backdrop, they looked proud and mighty. The applause to welcome Yi Qian's arrival finally rang out. It was even louder than the applause for Yi Qian's exciting fight. The female soldier they had been looking forward to didn't disappoint. She was indeed very powerful. She was a female soldier who was unforgettable after seeing her once. After stepping into the base of the Snowfield Brigade, Yi Qian finally waited for the applause to welcome her arrival. The prelude was a little long, a little tired, and a little painful, but when she saw their gazes on her, Yi Qian felt that it was all worth it. It was also at this moment that she understood Xia Jinyuan's arrangement and the reason why he had done so. Chapter 32:05. The comrades of the Snowfield Brigade welcomed Yi Qian like never before. They had long heard of Yi Qian's name. Now that they saw him, they were overwhelmed with emotions. When he shook hands with her, although he knew that the female soldier in front of him was very good at fighting and could not be defeated after 10 moves with the eagle, he did not dare to use too much strength when he held her hand that was much smaller than his. It was too small. When it was in his hand, it seemed that if he used a little strength, he would crush her bones. Xia Jinyuan saw the smiles on his comrades' faces and how careful they were when they shook hands. He couldn't help but gently rub his eyebrows. Before this, he had already thought about how his girlfriend would be welcomed into the Snowfield Brigade. He even mentally prepared himself to prevent himself from losing his temper on that day. When that day really came, his mood, it was like a bottle of 5 different emotions had been knocked over in his heart. Sour, sweet, bitter, and spicy. It was too dazzling. Look, the guy shaking hands with Qing Yao. That smile, that gaze, he's a total pervert. Hurry up and let go. The guy's secretly wiping his hands on his pants. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to wipe your hands clean so that you can shake hands with Qing Yao for a longer time? And the guy who's smiling so much that the corners of his mouth are about to reach his ears. His teeth are as white as a beast's. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to scare Qing Yao? There's also the guy who's secretly fixing his clothes and pulling. Does he think I'm going on a blind date? The guy who's constantly wiping his face with the back of his hand is even worse. Is he trying to wipe off all the hair on his face to make his facial features more defined? He's not as handsome as Xia Jinyuan, even if he scratches his skin. Lieutenant Colonel Xia, who was originally standing at the side, could not remain calm anymore. He simply walked closer. Yi Jian walked to the side of the next comrade, and he also walked to the side of the next comrade. The distance between them was only 3 steps. Why only 3 steps apart? Because they could separate the guys who were trying to shake hands with Yi Qian for a longer time and talk more. She doesn't need to know too much about you. Birthplace, military service, and code name. She only needs to know these 3 things. Colonel Xia resisted the urge to reach out and pull away his girlfriend's hand. The veins on his forehead bulged as he coldly reminded his comrade. The comrade who didn't know the relationship between his captain and Qing Yao raised his eyebrows. When Yi Qian walked to the next comrade, he fearlessly said to Colonel Xia, "Captain, Qing Yao is still single. I'm still single. I hope that you can forgive me." "Forgive? I'll give you a face full of swollen lumps." Restraining the fluctuations in his heart, Lieutenant Colonel Xia glanced coldly at this quick-witted comrade of his and replied with 2 words, "You're courting death." His comrade, who had completely misunderstood him, explained, "Captain, don't get agitated. I'm just telling you first. We don't know if it'll work yet." Qing Yao is Xia Jinyuan's girlfriend. Deep in his heart, Colonel Xia, who was always elegant and calm, roared like thunder. He knew that these guys wouldn't be honest, but he didn't expect them to be so dishonest on the first day they met. Fortunately, he had the foresight to arrange for Qing Yao to train with the 30 new recruits and not with these guys. Otherwise, something even more infuriating would have happened. Chapter 32:06. His girlfriend had come to a wolf's den, and as the boyfriend, he was very worried. Should he consider hinting to his comrades that the female soldier they were staring at was his girlfriend? Should he warn these guys who rarely saw female soldiers to keep their thoughts to themselves and behave themselves? "Hello, Mr. Zhang. Hello, Qing Yao. My code name is S5, Commando, born in Shanghai, only son. My parents are healthy and working in a state-owned enterprise. My grandparents are healthy and cultured. My grandmother and grandfather are retired employees of a steel factory. I have a house and a car, and I don't have any bad habits. I was in a relationship for 3 months during the first semester. Now single, I've been in the military for 4 years and 7 months. Lieutenant Colonel Xia Jinyuan, who was staring at him, was distracted for a moment. A handsome comrade with the code name S5 quickly introduced himself to Yi Qian. That introduction was extraordinarily detailed, even introducing his family situation. Everyone knew what Sima Zhao was up to. The Special Forces soldier who shook Yi Qian's hand and introduced himself widened his eyes. F*CK. There was such an impressive self-introduction. Why didn't he think of it? S5, you're too disloyal. How could you not share such a unique and detailed self-introduction in advance? Lieutenant Colonel Xia really didn't think that someone would be so daring as to make a move right under his nose while he was distracted. He walked over with a dark expression, and before S5 could report his height, measurements, and weight, he circled behind S5 and lifted his long leg to kick him. S5 knew that their captain had circled behind him, so he was on guard. He nimbly dodged to the side and insisted on reporting his height. Height 182, weight standard, and the point is single. Then, the single Special Forces soldiers were enraged. Good lad, 2F** King cunning. And the point was that he was single. He made it sound like he was the only one who was single. More than half of the team was single. Even their captain was single. What right did he have to say the point? A comrade stepped forward and said sternly, "Captain, leave him to us. We'll take care of him." Good lad. He actually dared to announce that he was single before them. Too cunning. He needed to be taught a lesson. S5, whose neck was strangled by his comrade, was mercilessly dragged to the side to be taught a lesson. However, he was smiling proudly as he was dragged away. It didn't matter. Teach him a lesson then. After all, he had already finished his self-introduction. Compared to their simple introduction of code name, place of origin, and military age, it was much better. He would definitely leave a deep impression on Qing Yao. The point, single. Xia Jinyuan, S5 took advantage of the loophole. Seeing S5 still smiling as he was dragged away, the lieutenant colonel's face was so dark that it reflected the light. Turning around, he spoke to the other Special Forces soldiers who had yet to introduce themselves. Their eyes and were ready to imitate S5. You want to attract the attention of the green bird to steal the team leader's woman? I'll kill you all. His comrades, who were about to introduce themselves again, glanced at the S5 that was being dragged away. Kid, just you wait. You're itching for a beating, aren't you? Yi Qian pursed her lips and smiled. She could already foresee that her upcoming training would be colorful and fun. Looking at the dark face of the man beside her, Yi Qian couldn't help but smile a little. Captain Xia was actually a narrow-minded man. G3, T6, V8, and Z7, who knew about the relationship between Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan, also smiled. Chapter 32:07. T6 gloated. He deserves it. He really deserves it. It's a pity that S5 is the only one who likes him. There should be more of them. Who asked him to treat Qing Yao like that? Does he really think that Qing Yao is made of iron? This is the first time I've seen someone treat their girlfriend that harshly. I wouldn't be surprised if Qing Yao dumped him one day. Q King is indeed a little too harsh on Qing Yao. No one else can be as harsh as him. But Qing Yao fell for his tricks. I'm starting to suspect that I don't have a girlfriend. Is it because I'm too soft-hearted? Do I have to learn to be as harsh as Q King? V8 was puzzled and said with a conflicted expression, "What if I learn to be ruthless? Will I beat my girlfriend away?" K7 thought that V8 was thinking too far ahead. He patted his comrade's shoulder and sighed. "Brother, you don't even have a girlfriend. How can you beat her away? Also, are you sure you can find a girlfriend like Qing Yao? No, a girl like Qing Yao is rare in this world. You ought just give up. Also, as someone who has been through this before, let me remind you that girlfriends are not to be beaten, but to be coaxed. Beating your girlfriend is domestic violence and will be looked down upon by everyone. If you end up in the hospital, you'll have to go to jail. As for why Qing Yao can continue after being beaten up by Q King, it's because she's a different girl. Her goal is to enter the Snowfield Brigade and become a Special Forces soldier. The military has high hopes for her and hopes that she can take on heavy responsibilities. If Q King doesn't treat her harshly and coax her as his girlfriend after entering the military, it will only cause her to die. It's not that he can't beat her, but it's because these are the hardships that a special forces soldier has to go through. You've experienced it before, and so have I. We've all been trained to the point where we ended up in the hospital. It'll be the same in the future. Don't be envious. Not everyone has a love like theirs. Look at me. I've been in love for so long, and I've met dozens of girls, if not hundreds, but I've never met a girl like Qing Yao. It wasn't easy to meet a Qing Yao, but Q King took advantage of her. So, you just have to find a girl you like. Don't try to find a girlfriend like Q King. You'll be single for the rest of your life. In order not to let his comrade make a fool of himself and end up single for the rest of his life, Han Jing advised him earnestly. Xia Jinyuan and Yi Qian had a love that was hard to come by. The two of them met the most suitable person when they were at their best, and they were together in their most beautiful years. This kind of love was too rare in the world, and not everyone could be as lucky as the two of them. On the other hand, a girl like Qing Yao was really not someone an ordinary man could afford to marry. She was a girl who was almost perfect in all aspects. Ordinary men would feel a lot of pressure when they were with her. Only a man like Xia Jinyuan, who was as dazzling as the sun and had extraordinary abilities and methods, could be a good match for her. The guys in the team who were tempted should also give up. They could forget about making Qing Yao change her mind. S5 and Eagle, these two pitiful guys, they would definitely have a hard time in the future. Han Zheng's words were insightful and insightful. T6 and K7, who were still complaining about Xia Jinyuan being too harsh on Yi Qian, gradually calmed down. They had indeed been too extreme just now. They only saw how ruthless Q King was to Qing Yao, but they neglected what Qing Yao would face in the future and what she would experience. Chapter 3208. In the future, she would be facing a battlefield where life and death would be on the battlefield. She would be a Special Forces soldier who would have to survive a hail of bullets. As Special Forces soldiers, they had all gone through the same path. No one was given any special treatment. Here, everyone would undergo the same training. G3, who already knew a little about the situation, said in a low voice, "In the future, no matter how Q King arranges Qing Yao's training, those of us who know the relationship between them are not allowed to interfere. Even if we have any objections, we have to avoid Qing Yao and bring them up to Q King. We absolutely cannot question Q King in front of Qing Yao." Just as Z7 said, Qing Yao is not an ordinary girl. In addition, the military has high hopes for her, so it's normal for Q King to be strict with her. You have to know that once a female soldier is captured on the battlefield, her fate is much worse than that of a male soldier. For Qing Yao's sake, and for Q King's own sake, he has to be strict with Qing Yao. We watched Q King treat Qing Yao harshly because we didn't know what Q King's arrangements were. And why did Qing Yao accept all of Q King's arrangements? It's because she wants to become a member of our Snowfield Brigade and become our comrade in arms so that we can advance and retreat together. Z7's Han Zheng's words were a reminder, but G3's Yin Rong's words made it clear. He told his comrades that Xia Jinyuan had his reasons for making all of these arrangements. Everyone was smart, so there was no need to make it too clear. They just had to think about it, and think about it for a while before they understood. Z7 laughed again and said, "Based on my understanding of Q King, he's a very gentlemanly and considerate man. Just look at how much he usually dotes on Qing Yao. During the military academy days, he even washed Qing Yao's clothes because he was afraid that Qing Yao would hurt her hands if she washed them with cold water. Why would someone who's been rolling around in the snow be afraid of hurting their hands with cold water? How's that possible? Wash Qing Yao's clothes." The T6 combatant's eyes widened in disbelief. How is that possible? He would even throw his own clothes to his defeated comrade to wash, and he would actually wash Qing Yao's clothes. Their captain, their king, as long as it was winter, he would start to think about how to stop himself from washing clothes. Who would have thought that he would actually wash clothes for Qing Yao this year? Did he hear wrongly? That's right. In the past few days in the military academy, he had taken over Qing Niao's clothes. He could even sing while scrubbing them. He was completely intoxicated. The second insider, V8, nodded in confirmation. I was shocked too, but he really did wash them. But leave his clothes to me and Z7 to wash, V8 said with a blank expression. The shocked T6 combatant walked out and asked why all lost to him again. Yeah, he organized a basketball game. I was in the same group as Z7 and lost. He won. Thinking back to the past, V8's heart ached. He had lost to Q King time and time again. When would it be his turn to wash his clothes for Q King? Z7 did not want to mention this at all. It would be embarrassing. But since V8 had already said it, he could no longer keep it a secret. He added, both of us will wash the clothes for a week each. After V8 is done, it'll be my turn to wash them. Ha ha, the T6 combatant laughed mercilessly. This was great. Q King would not have to think of ways to get his comrades to wash his clothes for him for the next few days. Looks like I don't have to worry about losing to Q King for the entire winter. After the two of you are done washing, there's still Eagle and S5 waiting in line. G3 did not have any objections to this arrangement at all. Last winter, he, a mountain boy who grew up at the foot of the Daxing Amling Mountains, actually lost to Q King, who grew up in Siju City. This made him feel extremely frustrated for the entire winter. Trapping rabbits was a mountain boy's specialty. How could he lose to a city boy? Chapter 3209. Why were city kids better at catching rabbits than mountain kids? G3 still couldn't figure it out, but Yi Qian soon found out why city kids could beat mountain kids when it came to catching rabbits. It was all because of Xia Jinyuan's secret efforts. After all the Special Forces soldiers introduced themselves, Xia Jinyuan, who was jealous, announced that they were dismissed. Everyone went to the field for training, while he took Yi Qian to the dormitory. Xia Jinyuan grabbed his girlfriend's luggage and said in a low voice, "Go to the dormitory and change your clothes first, then tidy up your room. In half an hour, G3 will take you to the recruit training ground to train with the new recruits." Xia Jinyuan paused for a moment and looked at Yi Qian, who was covered in snow. He seemed to want to make up for something, so he added softly, "Qing Niao, I'm sorry about what happened just now, but I had to make this arrangement. Also, I won't make you do high-intensity training. You just have to get to know the new recruits and train with them." Xia Jinyuan didn't explain why he wanted her to train with the new recruits instead of the veterans. Xia Jinyuan was actually very nervous about the arrangement for Yi Qian today. He felt that it was unfair. The reason why he wanted Yi Qian to train with the new recruits was also unfair. He was afraid that Yi Qian would be angry, so he could only leave the matter to G3. In the end, Xia Jinyuan was worried about his girlfriend's feelings. Fortunately, Yi Qian had always understood her boyfriend. She knew that he couldn't give her special treatment just because she was the captain's girlfriend. Therefore, she didn't have any objections to any of his arrangements. Yi Qian could sense his uneasiness from his tone. She pursed her lips and smiled. "Captain Xia, since I'm in the team, I'll obey your arrangements unconditionally. I'll do whatever you arrange. You said before that you're not my boyfriend, and I'm not your girlfriend. We're comrades, a superior and subordinate relationship. So, you don't have to worry too much about me, and you don't have to worry about my emotions at all times. You just made the right choice and made the right arrangements. Just like that time when I was training with the Demon King and the others, you beat me up until I was hospitalized. I could understand and accept it. And I also think that if other comrades had made such a stupid mistake, they definitely wouldn't have just been beaten up by you. They would have been punished even more horribly. I won't become arrogant because of your favor, so you don't have to worry about my feelings. If I really have any dissatisfaction, I will definitely voice it out and not hide it in my heart." Yi Qian's words left Xia Jinyuan speechless for a long time. His girlfriend was always so considerate of him, always thinking from his point of view. Sometimes, it even gave him the illusion that she was the one who was always taking care of him and accommodating him. That was indeed the case. If it were anyone else, they definitely wouldn't be able to accept what happened in the past or today. Even if they didn't fly into a rage, they would still criticize him. After all, even the G3 members thought that he had gone too far. But she didn't. She had always been considerate of him and chose to follow him without any complaints or regrets. She believed in everything he did without reservation. Xia Jinyuan's heart had already softened as if it was soaked in warm water. His love for her continued to ferment. In the end, he couldn't control himself anymore. He lowered his head and pecked Yi Qian's lips with his slightly cold, thin lips. Deep love slowly flowed in his deep eyes. Chapter 32:10. Yi Qian, who was startled by his sudden kiss, looked around vigilantly. Seeing that there were no other comrades around, she heaved a sigh of relief. This time, Yi Qian, who was kissed, was not happy. Instead, she was furious. She glared at him and said, "Captain Xia, this is the team. You have to be careful. If you do this again, I won't be alone with you next time." He was too bold. There were surveillance cameras everywhere in the base. Wasn't he afraid of being discovered? Xia Jinyuan, who had kissed her secretly, realized that he had gone overboard. He didn't expect that he would lose control of himself in a moment of impulse. After the kiss, he knew that he had made a big mistake. He immediately said, "I'll check the surveillance cameras later." The fear and anger in her heart did not disappear just because he said that he would check the surveillance cameras. She said sternly, "You're not allowed to do such things again. What would your comrades think if they saw you? If word of this spreads to the higher-ups, you won't have a good time as the captain." Yi Qian, who was not angry when she was arranged to fight a tag-team battle and was not angry when she was arranged to fight a one-on-one, was really angry now. How could he be so reckless? Yi Qian had always been tolerant of Xia Jinyuan. She had never been angry at anything he did. But this time, she really did not expect him to do such a thing. It was greatly beyond her expectations. It also made her realize that if such actions were not stopped, there would be endless trouble in the future. Her face had completely turned cold, and even her eyes had become much sharper. She stared directly at Xia Jinyuan and said, "I'm happy that you've been up to some petty tricks outside. But if you continue to do that in the team, I don't like it all, Captain Xia." The Captain Xia in my heart is a true husband who separates public from private interests. He knows what he wants to do at all times. Xia Jinyuan knew that his actions just now had really angered his girlfriend, who had never been angry with him before. He was deeply reflecting on himself. The person who was leaving with him now was not his girlfriend, but his comrade, his subordinate. His handsome face turned serious, and he said in a deep voice, "There won't be a next time." Okay. He had always been a man of his word, so Yi Qian did not continue to press the matter. He nodded lightly to show that he trusted him. He was angry because he was afraid that his small actions would affect his work and destroy his image in the eyes of his comrades. Yi Qian's criticism was a wake-up call to Xia Jinyuan. After that, until Yi Qian left the Snowfield Brigade and returned to school, he really did not do anything out of line. Even after the two of them had fought together countless times during the drills, he did not make any similar mistakes. When two people were together, they didn't just talk about love. Sometimes, harsh criticism was also a way to improve their relationship. Take Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan, for example. Because of their professions, they were destined not to be romantically involved. There would not be many sweet nothings between them. Fighting and criticism were all part of their love. It was a love that was different from other lovers. Yi Qian took the initiative to change the topic and asked Xia Jinyuan, who had a slightly gloomy expression on his face, "Just now, you said that you had to make such arrangements. What exactly was the reason? Can I know?" "Of course you can. I never thought of hiding it from you." Yi Qian's consideration once again made Xia Jinyuan let out a sigh of relief. For her, for himself, and for the two of them to fight side by side in the future, he absolutely could not do anything out of line again. Chapter 32:11. He made a mistake and caused her to be worried as well. This was something he did not want to see. The Snowfield Brigade is divided into two teams. The team with alphanumeric code names is responsible for external assault operations, while the team with Chinese code names is responsible for assassination. The combination of the two teams is a double-edged sword for our country, able to attack and defend at will. With the development of the times, the military strength of each country has increased and the special forces have expanded. Our special forces team, which was established in the late 1980s, also needs to be reformed. I suggested to the military that we have too few members. As the special forces of each country increase, I hope that the two teams will be expanded. The two teams will be divided into two brigades. I will be responsible for external assault operations, while the other team leader will be responsible for assassination operations. This suggestion was approved by the military and Major General Yang. A year later, a document was issued. The Snowfield Brigade's main force will be expanded to 100 people. Within 10 years, the entire Snowfield Brigade will be expanded to about 200 people. 4 years have passed. Our current strength, including the new recruits and you, has reached 60 people. In 2.5 years, our strength will reach 100 people. The 100 people will be divided into 2 brigades, led by 2 team leaders. I will be the team leader of the assault operations. The team with Chinese code names is responsible for assassination and assassination. Most of them act alone, which is equivalent to a group without a leader. Therefore, we need another team leader to lead the team. Hearing this, Yi Qian vaguely guessed what Xia Jinyuan wanted to say. After he guessed it, his eyes flashed with shock. He did not immediately ask, but listened quietly with a serious expression. Who will lead the team with Chinese code names in the future has become a headache for Major General Yang. In the first half of last year, Major General Yang was still having a headache over this. I already had a candidate in mind, but because the time was not right, I did not mention it to Major General Yang. It was not until the second half of last year that I vaguely revealed my thoughts to Major General Yang. Major General Yang did not say no, nor did he say yes. It was not until the first half of this year that I applied to the military to allow you to come to the base for training in advance. After seeing your combat and leadership abilities, Major General Yang told me that I could give it a try, but he still needed to evaluate you and could not make a decision easily. In other words, she guessed correctly? The military and Major General Yang had included her as a candidate to take over Pigeon's team. Yi Qian's heart thundered when his guess was confirmed. He said softly, "Captain Xia, even I don't have that much confidence. Why do you think that I can do it? Your guts. All right, you've always been quite big." As bold as he was, he had done too many things that had shocked and convinced her. Xia Jinyuan sneered. "Because I believe that you are capable enough to not disappoint those who think highly of you. It wasn't on the spur of the moment, but after several years of testing you, I had the confidence to make a suggestion to Major General Yang." Major General Yang didn't answer immediately. On the one hand, he has seen your ability and believes in your ability. On the other hand, he considers that you are too young to convince the public, so he needs to discuss it. If he didn't believe in your ability, he wouldn't have specially told me that today is your first meeting with the team members. You must make proper arrangements and let the team members know of your abilities and capabilities. First impressions are the strongest. In the future, when you join the army and become the leader of Pigeon's team, things will be much smoother. The situation that I encountered when I first joined the team will not happen again. Chapter 32:12. Yi Qian couldn't calm her emotions for a long time. It was too shocking, so shocking that she couldn't believe it. How could Captain Xia think that she could take on such a heavy responsibility? How could Major General Yang think that she could give it a try? But she had never thought about it. Yi Qian only wanted to be a special forces soldier, to be able to follow in Xia Jinyuan's footsteps and eventually be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. She had never thought about leading troops in a battle and becoming a commander. She had never thought about it, so she was so shocked. Xia Jinyuan saw that she was so shocked and couldn't help but laugh. "Why are you so shocked? Don't you believe in your own ability? Or are you doubting my judgment and Major General Yang's judgment?" "No, that's not it." Yi Qian immediately shook her head. "I'm not doubting you or the Major General. I just can't quite believe it. Why do you guys trust me so much? I haven't even thought about it myself. I don't quite believe that I have the ability in this area. Then you can think about it now, and you need to work hard for your future development. Qing Niao, you have to believe in yourself. Think about it. You've endured so many difficulties. You shouldn't doubt your own ability. As the commander-in-chief in your first year, you led the first year and third year students to complete the exercise. When your brigade commander came to Beijing for a meeting to report on the school's work, he especially praised you. Why does Major General Yang think that you can give it a try? It's because of your wonderful performance as the commander-in-chief of the first year exercise. Don't doubt your own ability. We all know your ability. Now, add a little ambition into it, and I believe that you can definitely do it. Add a little ambition? In her second life, she didn't seem to have any ambition. In her previous life, she didn't even have the time to be ambitious. She only thought about how to survive. She, who had no ambition in her previous life, suddenly had to add a little ambition. Yi Qian swallowed and said with difficulty, "But this kind of thing can't be done with ambition alone. You also have to have enough ability. Also, you have to make your comrades believe in you. You've told me before that the all-round soldier king parachuted into the Snowfield Brigade, but no one was convinced by you. So, I don't have to say anything. Captain Xia, who had outstanding ability, was made the brigade commander, but her comrades had made it difficult for her to become their brigade commander. Just thinking about it made her shudder. No matter how she thought about it, she couldn't convince the others. How to convince others? This is what I have to do as a commander." Her uneasiness made Xia Jinyuan smile faintly. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will be victorious in every battle. I'm new here, and it's difficult for me to fight 100 fists with my bare hands. I have to pull some people to my side. Thus, before I came here, I had already decided who would submit to me first, as long as they're convinced everything. At that time, Han Jing hadn't come over yet, so he couldn't be my helper. Thus, I thought of ways to learn from foreigners and subdue foreigners. I focused on what the soldiers in the team were good at, what they were good at in life, and what they were good at in training. J5 was my first target. Because he was the instructor, I took a week to bring him to my camp. G3 was a tough nut to crack. He had the unyielding spirit of a mountain person and the loyalty of a mountain person. He became my second target, and the pigeons were my third target. Chapter 32:13. Xia Jinyuan smiled faintly as he recalled the past. He explained his plan one by one. After I figured out the targets, I started to train myself based on their strengths. Within a week, I had J5, G3, and then Pigeon. 3 months later, 10 people stood on my side and started to submit to me. It was already a year later when everyone was convinced by me. Yi Qian was in awe. Captain Xia had never relied on his family's connections to get to where he was today, nor did he ask Commander-in-Chief Xia for help. It was obvious how much effort he had put in. It was all blood and sweat. It's the same as learning all their strengths and not letting any of them surpass yours. It must have been very hard on you. Yi Qian, who had put his ambitions aside, looked at him with heartache. He asked softly, "How did you endure that kind of hardship? How much effort did he have to put in to learn everyone's strengths?" Xia Jinyuan could tell that she was feeling sorry for him, so he didn't downplay it. He told her the truth. This was because he had to let her know that it was not easy to get all his comrades, who were all A Special Forces, to submit to him. He had to let her be mentally prepared. That year, I was really exhausted. During the day, I had to fight with them, and at night, they would all be sleeping soundly. In order to get them to submit to my arrangements and orders as soon as possible, I didn't dare to sleep too much at night. I would sneak up and continue training. There were patrols at the base at night. I didn't want them to find me. When I was training, I had to pay attention to my surroundings from time to prevent them from discovering me. Once, a tall building happened to land at night. T6 and V8 stood under the building for half an hour and didn't leave. I hung there with my head down for half an hour. When they left, my brain was so congested that my vision turned black. When I came down, I couldn't even see my surroundings clearly. Later, Major General Yang couldn't stand it anymore and sent me overseas to study special forces for half a year. I came back half a year later. In the past, G3 and the others used to obey my arrangements and orders. After they came back, they were truly convinced and didn't question any of my decisions anymore. Even if you really have doubts, you will first think about it in your heart before raising them, instead of directly slamming the table and questioning it like before. Qing Yao, the Special Forces of the Snowfield Brigade, are all the best of the best. It's not easy to convince them. As for you, the military has other plans. Major General Yang specifically told me that you have to give all the Special Forces a very strong impression on the first day you arrive. How can I leave a good impression on these ace Special Forces on the first day? I thought for a long time before coming up with today's arrangement. They went from ordinary soldiers to ace Special Forces today by relying on their strength. Then, I'll let you show them your strength on the first day and let them know how strong the female soldier Qing Yao is. Facts have proven that my arrangements were correct. They have seen your strength and know how powerful the female soldier Qing Yao is. They already have a very good impression of your arrival, which will also lay the foundation for you in the future. You will take fewer detours and experience fewer things that I have encountered before. Your mind will be more stable and you will not have negative emotions because of this. Chapter 32:14. Yi Qian, who had been shocked earlier, felt warm inside. It turned out that Captain Xia trusted him so much and had started planning for a long time. For her sake, he had put in so much effort to make arrangements and was even afraid that he would have a knot in his heart. Because the matter had not been settled yet, he could not tell her the purpose of his arrangements. Every time he was ruthless to her, he felt uneasy and was afraid that he would hurt her. Work hard, Qing Yao. I will report your situation every day. Whether or not you can become the leader of Pigeon's brigade depends on you. After he said this, Yi Qian, who had a sour look in her eyes, nodded and said, I'm willing to give it a try. She did not have any ambition, but for his good intentions and to live up to his efforts, she was willing to give it a try. She was only half saying that she was willing to give it a try. What she really wanted to say was, for you, I'm willing to give it a try. Xia Jinyuan, who had seen through her thoughts, stared at the female soldier who was willing to give it a try for him. He smiled gently and said, I believe that you will definitely become the brightest star in our brigade. Go upstairs and pack up first. Xia Jinyuan looked down at his watch and saw that 10 minutes had passed. He handed the luggage to Yi Qian and said, there are still 20 minutes left. Hurry up. After taking the luggage, Yi Qian realized that she had arrived at a small building that was only 4 stories tall. There were 2 armed sentries standing guard in the corridor leading to the building. When they saw her and Captain Xia walking over, they immediately saluted and gave her a friendly smile. This is the information building. We have never had a female soldier in our brigade and have never had a female soldier come here before. Therefore, the brigade does not have a female soldier's dormitory. To avoid suspicion, I have arranged for your dormitory to be in the information building. The room is very spacious, but it is not convenient for you to take a shower. In the future, you will come to my dormitory to take a shower alone. It cannot be helped. When they were building the infrastructure, they did not consider that there would be a female soldier station here one day. They also did not expect that the Snowfield Brigade would recruit female soldiers, which led to the current awkward situation. Xia Jinyuan was even more worried about Yi Qian taking a bath in a public bathhouse. If some reckless guy didn't know that Qing Yao was taking a bath and rushed in, it would be a big problem. Yi Qian, on the other hand, did not think too much about it. She took her luggage and looked up at the IT building. It was a very new building. It's a little extravagant to live alone in such a big room. She accepted it easily and didn't feel wronged at all. She really had a big heart. Since she didn't feel anything, he didn't have to think too much about it. He pointed to the 2nd floor and said, the reference room on the 2nd floor is your temporary dormitory. Other than T6 and a few others, the other comrades usually won't get close to it. It is indeed very big, as long as you're not afraid. What was there to be afraid of? Yi Qian grabbed his luggage and walked briskly up to the second floor. 20 minutes later, G3 walked over on time and gave Xia Jinyuan an order to Yi Qian, who had changed into a clean camouflage uniform. Defeat 30 recruits within a week. If you can't do it, you'll be disqualified as a reserve member. It was a very cruel order, but Yi Qian only froze for a few seconds before accepting it. If she couldn't even defeat the recruits, what right did she have to train and fight together with the ace special forces of the Snowfield Brigade? Not to mention becoming the leader of another team. Her calm acceptance made G3 look at her and feel a little uneasy. He reminded her, Qing Yao, King Q never makes incorrect arrangements. He always has a reason for everything he does. You don't think too much about it. He doesn't mean anything by it. He explained it because he was afraid that she would misunderstand Captain Xia. Chapter 32:15. G3 had witnessed Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan's relationship to where it was today. They knew that it wasn't easy for them and knew about their relationship. Therefore, they hoped that they would be together for a long time and that there wouldn't be any setbacks. To be honest, people like them really couldn't withstand any setbacks in their relationships. Even the slightest setback would make their hearts feel stifled. Take himself, for example. He had been in a relationship with his girlfriend for a few years and was most worried that he wouldn't be able to accompany her during the holidays and make her angry. In a fit of anger, she would break up with him. Therefore, the first thing he would do when he returned home during the holidays was to bring his girlfriend home and pamper her. He couldn't withstand the torment, but he also didn't dare to make his girlfriend angry. His girlfriend's words were more effective than an imperial edict. As long as she said something, he would immediately obey without a single word of rebuttal. To be honest, if Q King treated his girlfriend this way, they wouldn't have gotten married next year. They would have said goodbye to him long ago. Now that he saw how Yi Qian was treated, G3 felt that he wouldn't feel at ease if he didn't put in a few good words for their captain. It didn't matter how much they joked with their captain or how much they ridiculed each other. It was all in front of him. When it came to serious matters, they wouldn't be careless. They had to stand up for their comrades. After G3 finished explaining, he stared at Yi Qian without blinking. He tried to see if there was anything strange in her calm expression so that he could grasp the main point and enlighten Yi Qian. Yi Qian was really calm. Before she understood Xia Jinyuan's arrangement, she didn't have any objections. Now that she understood, it was naturally even more impossible for her to have any objections. Seeing how nervous G3 was, she couldn't help but laugh. G3, you don't have to be nervous. I didn't think that much. After joining the team, he's our captain. The captain's arrangements are military orders. A soldier's duty is to obey orders. As a soldier, how can I not understand? I'll obey whatever arrangements he makes. There won't be any misunderstandings, nor will there be any personal feelings, because I know that everything he's doing is for my own good. He's doing this so that I can come back alive from the rain of bullets. Understand. All of you relax. Tell T6, V8, K7, and Z7 not to worry about me. I'm on good terms with Captain Xia. We won't make a scene. Captain Xiao's arrangement is his business. I don't have the right to question it. I just need to obey. Also, I'm really grateful that all of you stepped forward to protect me just now. With all you by my side, what's there to be upset about? Don't worry, I'm fine. In order to emphasize that he really wasn't angry and wasn't throwing a tantrum, Yi Qian repeatedly reassured them. G3 saw that there was nothing strange between her brows. Her expression and tone were very natural. She was indeed not throwing a tantrum, nor was she unhappy because of Q King's arrangement. Only then did he feel relieved. That's good. Not wanting to talk about personal matters anymore, G3 restrained his expression and said with a serious expression, Then let's go to the recruit company now. Today's training is a little special. Sit on the side and watch first before you learn. How is it special? Yi Qian sat in the mountain bike as G3 drove her to the base's third training ground. Only then did she realize how special it was. This was a very, very large training ground hidden in the forest. There were several different types of off-road vehicles parked in the snow. Today, the recruits were driving warrior commuter vehicles. Chapter 32:16. Pointing at one of the warrior commuter cars, Yi Qian smiled and said, "Can I drive it myself? I don't really want to sit and watch." Drive it herself? The G3 member stared at the female soldier who wanted to drive and asked uncertainly, "You've driven it before?" "Yes, I've driven it before. I've driven warrior commuter cars, tractors, infantry fighting vehicles, and six-wheeled transport vehicles before. I'm best at Orient off-road vehicles." Yi Qian told him all the types of cars she had learned at the Southern Province Automotive Training Base. After she finished, she sighed and said, "Q King said that I only know how to drive basic cars. I don't know how to drive special operations cars. I've never driven one before." The G3 member didn't say anything. Q King was obviously lying to a child. "Drive it first, and let me know how good you are. Your skills are not bad. If you drive further up the mountain, there will be special operations training grounds. They are all training grounds with complicated terrains." After taking a few steps, he asked Yi Qian, "Have you driven into the mountains before?" "Yes, I drove for more than 100 kilometers. During that time, I ate chili, cooling oil, and onions to refresh myself." Yi Qian didn't think it was impressive that she had driven so many cars before, so she said it calmly. At this moment, the G3 member was very emotional. "How did you drive these cars before?" "When I was in high school, I took the time to learn from soldiers at a base. Unfortunately, after I graduated from high school and left the Southern Province, I never went back. It would be difficult even if she wanted to go." Political Commissar Yin was transferred away. Regiment Commander Liu was retired, and the soldiers who had learned with her were all on duty at their respective posts. Other than the training grounds, she wasn't familiar with anything else. When she mentioned the Southern Province, the G3 member knew which base she had trained at. The soldiers from that base were all elite drivers for the leaders at the conference hall. Not only were they skilled, but they also knew how to drive all kinds of cars. Knowing which base Yi Qian had trained at, the G3 member jumped into the warrior commuter car and said to Yi Qian, who was sitting in the driver's seat, "Go up the mountain. Go straight up the mountain." "Okay." Yi Qian agreed readily. He stepped on the accelerator and drifted away nimbly. Yi Qian drove the 100% proprietary warrior commuter car, which had almost 100% domestically produced parts, into the mountains, speeding. That's right, speeding. It was so fast that the G3 had only just secured the safety belt when the car was already almost 100 meters away. That speed, amazing. G3, whose seatbelt was fastened, was so excited by Yi Jian's swift turn that his eyes lit up. "Not bad, Greenbird. Master level." Hija, who was in his office, he was in his office. He smiled to the pigeon reporting pigeon. "What a coincidence," he said to the pigeon to the report. "What a coincidence. Let's let her get to know the recruits, to the Godzas, soldiers, S who is accompanying him. To record Niao, TT, record Niao SS." The pigeon was a little confused. "Isn't it the other way around? Is Niao the one recording G3 foot S? Did G3 foot S results need to be recorded? It didn't sound right to say it the other way around. Niao drove the warrior commuter car before, so her skills are passable. She should be the one driving now," Xia Jinyuan said lazily as he flipped through the documents in his hands. Niao was already at the base she yearned for, so she really became a free bird. She could soar as high as she wanted, but how could she let go of anything related to training? Chapter 32:17. So she had learned it before, and her skills were passable. She was probably doing it at the foot of the mountain. Yes, Pigeon didn't think too much and agreed. She handed the second document to Comrade Xia Jinyuan. "This is the document from the military headquarters yesterday. You have to read it. You don't have to sign it. You'll know what happened just by looking at it." Everyone in the team knew that their captain hated signatures the most, because the documents to be signed were trivial matters that had to be carried out. Unsigned documents were the main point. Xia Jinyuan immediately put the document in his hand aside. He even put down his long legs that were resting on the corner of the desk. He opened the document and read it from the beginning to the end. Then he slammed it shut. It seems that you all have to stay in the army this year. Who bought the tickets to go home? Tell them to refund the tickets and call home to apologize. It was the first time he had encountered a military exercise during the new year since he took over the position of captain of the Snowfield Brigade. It looked like there was going to be a big change in the army. Xia Jinyuan, who grew up in a powerful family, had always been sensitive to changes in direction. There was no news from the higher-ups, but he could smell something unusual just by looking at a document. Pigeon said, "The entire team will participate. It looks like it's going to be a large-scale winter exercise. A brigade of soldiers, a medium-sized exercise." Xia Jinyuan stood up and picked up the camouflage hat on the desk. He said as he walked out, "Go take a look at the training of the veterans. Contact G3 and report to me immediately when Qing Yao's results are out." Yes. Pigeon walked out together and contacted G3 to convey Xia Jinyuan's instructions. After that, he said jokingly, "Q King said that Qing Yao has driven a warrior commuter car before, but her skills are average. Do you want to make her results look better?" G3, who was sitting in the warrior commuter car, couldn't sit still for even a moment. He took a deep breath and replied, "With her current skills, you want me to make her look better? You'll know when you come over. She's competing with the new recruits." "What do you mean, competing with the new recruits? Are you kidding?" How could Pigeon, who was holding the one-line microphone, believe her? Q King himself had said that Qing Yao's level was average. How could he compete with the recruits with such average standards? The recruits' skills shouldn't be that bad, right? Greenbird's guts were a little too big. Before G3 could answer, a loud bang came from the single-line microphone, as if a car had hit something. The sound was so loud that Pigeon's heart skipped a beat, and even her expression changed. "Hey, G3, what's the situation now?" The G3 driver in the car hadn't even caught his breath yet. When he heard this, he panted heavily and replied, "It's nothing. We avoided the obstacle and the car behind hit us. We're fine." Obstacle avoidance was the most common training method in driving training. It was used to train the reaction and judgment of soldiers. Pigeon's expression changed again and again. She asked G3 with uncertainty, "Is Qing Yao's level very high?" "Very high. She's way ahead of the new recruits. I can't get out of the car now, and the speed is so fast. Otherwise, I would have jumped out of the car." G3 grabbed the handle of the car and tried to keep his body stable. However, the road was rugged and bumpy. No matter how hard he tried, it was impossible to stabilize his body. He bounced again, and his head hit the roof of the car hard. G3 was dizzy, and his stomach was churning. He remembered that he hadn't eaten breakfast or lunch. No wonder his stomach was churning. Chapter 32:18. Pigeon knew that he might have been tricked by Q King. G3 praised Qing Niao's skill level so much. It must be very high. He wanted to see. Actions were better than thoughts. Pigeon cut off the communication and ran towards the monitoring center. His comrades in the monitoring center were already admiring the scene. The recruits were training in the mountains, so they naturally needed to be monitored. If anything happened, they could immediately go to the rescue. From the moment Yi Qian got on the bus to the departure, his comrades in the monitoring center did not miss anything. Previously, when they saw Yi Qian jump into the commuter bus and sit in the driver's seat, they were stunned. They almost contacted G3 to ask him to keep a close eye on Qing Yao so that nothing would happen to her on her first day in the team. Later, they felt that the one who had an accident was not Qing Yao, but G3, who had been jolted until his face turned pale. With this level of skill, how could the recruits be her match? Pigeon rushed in and saw the monitors in the monitoring center showing the recruits training in the mountains. He hurriedly ran over and asked, "Which bus is Qing Yao driving?" Wai pointed at the warrior commuter bus in the middle of the monitor and stared at it intently. He did not reply to Pigeon. "This one." On the monitor, Yi Qian stepped on the accelerator and soared from a high slope. Then, with a bang, it landed in another trench. Y shouted, "Beautiful! Beautifully done! Wonderful, too wonderful!" It was too exciting to watch. Pigeon stared at the commuter bus that was still trembling after landing and did not come back to his senses for a long time. Was this what Q King meant by average? F***CK. Was this level still considered average? When he was racing, it was as if he was driving a toy car. When he dodged obstacles, the steering wheel turned into a blur, and he dodged with incomparable agility. At the same time, he also trapped the commuter cars behind him. When he reached the trench, he stepped on the gas pedal nimbly and rushed out like an arrow without stopping. After landing, the car was still trembling and began to drift again. The wheels spun in the snow and mud, confusing the line of sight of the commuter cars behind him and forcing them to stop. If this was considered average, he really didn't know what kind of standard Q King had in mind. Q King Xia Jinyuan thought that Qing Niao's standard still had room for improvement. As for saying that Qing Niao's standard was passable, he was just being modest. He didn't expect that the pigeon would take his words seriously. On the other hand, the recruits who were training thought that their captain, who was so ruthless that even the blood in his body was cold, was testing them. They immediately contacted each other and discussed tactics. Surround him and block his escape route. Comrades, numbered 1 to 5, immediately change lanes halfway up the mountain to block his path. Comrades, numbered 6 to 10, drive straight to the top of the mountain and guard the top of the mountain. Don't let him take you down. Comrades from 11 to 15, block his path of retreat at the foot of the mountain. Make sure he has nowhere to retreat and nowhere to advance. The rest of you, stay close and attack from both sides. I don't believe that we can't kill him today. It was obvious that Xia Jinyuan had been very harsh on them during their training. He was so harsh that they were both afraid and impressed. Now that they had a chance to learn from each other, how could they let it go? Their tactics were all transmitted to the monitoring center through the communication devices in the car. The A Special Forces who were watching were all speechless. F***CK. They thought Qing Niao was Q King. Qing Niao, I'm Y. The recruits mistook you for Q King. Due to the fact that Q King is usually inhumane and has no humanity, this group of recruits has begun to surround you. Can you withstand it? Chapter 32:19. Yi Qian was not frightened by the recruits thinking that she was Xia Jinyuan. Instead, she was shocked by Y's words. Q King is usually inhumane and inhumane, causing the soldiers to be enraged. She asked G3, who was sitting next to her, what inhumane and inhumane thing did Q King do to cause the soldiers to be enraged? Nothing happened, right? She was worried that Xia Jinyuan would be punished because of the soldiers' anger. The soldiers' indignation meant that they were not convinced. They were quite angry at his arrangement. They wanted to resist, but had to obey because of his identity. Yi Jian understood this. She did not pick up the conversation. She could hear Y's voice, but Y could not hear her. G3, whose face was pale, suppressed the nausea in his stomach. He swallowed a few times before answering her. Nothing. Y is just joking. The soldier's anger is not what you think it is. It's because every time he arranges inhumane and inhumane training, the recruits have a hard time completing it within the allotted time. They resisted several times, but to no avail. Some of the recruits said it was impossible to complete, that no one could complete it. In the end, Q King completed it. A bunch of dissatisfied recruits extinguished their anger and didn't dare to fart anymore. Some people questioned him and said that he was the captain of the team. His ability must be outstanding to be able to sit in the captain's position today. It's normal for him to win against them. You know Q King's temper. He gave him a chance, but they still grumbled like girls in front of him. He didn't say much and directly increased their usual training to the same level as us veterans. This group of elite soldiers from various units wanted to cause trouble, but didn't dare to. They said they wanted to spar with Q King a few times, but Q King directly said that they didn't have the right. Each and every one of them had no place to vent the anger in their hearts. I even heard that the recruits secretly swore to defeat Q King, who looked down on them, within a year. Ugh. When it came to the recruits and Q King, G3 couldn't control himself and said a little too much. Yi Qian's continuous braking made his stomach churn. He could no longer suppress the nausea. From the rearview mirror, Yi Jian saw 3 warrior commuter cars following closely behind. When the car took a 180-degree turn on the mountain road, the driver of G3, who was about to vomit bile several times, glanced at the female soldier who stopped the car with the corner of his eyes. He felt that he was going to lose a lot of face today. He was going to vomit. He was also the instructor of the recruits' warrior commuter car and warrior light armored car. The instructor was sitting in the commuter car until he vomited. What a F***king embarrassment. When the commuter car behind them saw that their car had stopped at a dangerous bend, they were instantly excited. Car number 2. Speed up. Q King has stopped to stop. F***CK. Is he not daring to cross the road? Haha. There are places he doesn't dare? Hurry, all of us. Car number 3 is approaching from the left. Car number 1 is on the left. I'll speed up. The recruit driving car number 2 had a fierce look in his eyes. He rushed forward and sped up again, heading toward the commuter car that suddenly stopped. G3, hold your stomach tight. Don't vomit in the car. Yi Qian, who had a gentle smile on his face, joked, "The first time I met my team members was already a new experience. This time, when I meet them, I'll take the initiative. I'll also have a new experience with them." Turning on the comms, Yi Qian smiled at Y in the monitoring center and replied, "Why? Please don't tell them that I'm in the car. I accept the challenge." Qing Niao's acceptance of a challenge wasn't unexpected. In fact, it was expected. Chapter 32:20. Y smiled. "No problem. Have fun with them. We'll keep an eye on them." "It's not fun. It's a spar." After saying that, Yi Qian stepped on the accelerator and drove the car like a bomber. In an instant, they had traveled more than 10 meters. Vroom, vroom, vroom. The sound kept stimulating G3's eardrums, making the members in the monitoring center more and more excited. Y said to Pigeon, "You came at the right time. Take a good look at Qing Niao's skills. She can even spar with us now." Pigeon leaned forward slightly and moved her hands on various buttons. Then, she switched the image of Yi Qian driving to the largest central screen. At the same time, she used the intercom to contact Xia Jinyuan. "Q King, the recruits have mistaken Qing Niao for you. They've already started their tactical arrangement. Do you want to stop them?" Xia Jinyuan, who was observing the training of every veteran on the field, heard the words and looked towards the mountain. His thin lips curled up and he said with a smile, "Don't stop them. Tell Qing Niao to teach these arrogant recruits a lesson for me." Okay. Pigeon no longer doubted Qing Niao's skills. She took the single-line communication microphone from Y and said to Qing Niao, "Qing Niao, have a good spar with the recruits. Q King wants you to teach them a lesson for him." The recruits they were talking about were not new recruits. They were new recruits who had yet to become official members of the Snowfield Brigade. These recruits were all very capable in their original units and were considered elite soldiers. However, when they arrived here, all their previous glory was gone. No matter what their previous position was or how high their military rank was, everything returned to zero once they arrived here. To the veterans, they were all new recruits who had to start from zero. With Xia Jinyuan's order, Yi Qian felt even less of a psychological burden and treated her as Captain Xia. It was obvious that they had never seen Captain Xia's driving skills before. They had never seen it before and still wanted to challenge her. They were indeed ignorant. The new recruits, who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, didn't know that the person they met wasn't the Q King they wanted to defeat, but the female soldier who had just arrived today, Qing Niao. Now that there was an opportunity for him to hold his head high, he would be a fool if he didn't seize it. Yi Qian glanced at G3, who was no longer vomiting, and sneered, "Can you still hold on? I need to reverse the car about 30 meters to the top of the slope just now." G3 patted his chest and said firmly, "Sure, Q King wants you to teach them a lesson. How can I miss the show? If you want to throw up, just tell me in advance. If you really want to throw up in the car, Before Yi Qian could finish, G3 laughed heartily. His voice was hoarse, and the sound of his laughter was like a sharp knife grinding against a whetstone. It made people feel uneasy. The recruits naturally felt uncomfortable when they heard this, but Yi Qian was not affected at all. Sit tight. Let's scare them first. Not only did G3's center of gravity sink to his hips, but his hands were also tightly gripped. If he didn't hold on tight, he was afraid he would be thrown out. Reverse, there was a steep slope below. She was playing with her heartbeat by retreating from the top of the slope. Before retreating, G3 observed the situation from the rearview mirror. When he saw the 3 cars slowing down at the same time, he reminded Yi Qian to pay attention. They've completely slowed down. You have enough time to reverse. Don't worry about them catching up. Yi Qian, who planned to reverse back to the slope in one go, ignored him. They're just slowing down. They're not stopping. They're probably guessing what I'm doing and suspecting that it's a trap. They don't want to give up, but they don't dare to chase after me. It seems like Q King has a huge influence on them. Chapter 32:21. Xia Jinyuan had a huge impact on the recruits. The elite soldiers in the army realized that they had become weaklings when they arrived, and the difference was huge. Once the difference was huge, they would more or less have negative emotions. As the captain, Xia Jinyuan needed to turn their negative emotions into another emotion that could motivate them to rise up. That was to ignite the courage of every recruit. Courage was an indispensable part of every soldier. Fighting to be the vanguard was the goal of every elite soldier. Xia Jinyuan used himself as a target and let them challenge him. He stimulated their courage and trained hard every day so that they could surpass him, the captain, one day. And he did it. The recruits were inhumanely trained by him, and afterwards they had to face a wave of disdain from him. That anger was enough to make their liver hurt. G3 had always admired Q King's training methods. Hearing this, he smiled and said, "They both love and hate Q King. Now that they see you as Q King, they will naturally be cautious. If they really encounter Q King, they will be in an even worse state." What I did was just child's play. Yi Qian, who had stopped, began to step on the accelerator. G3 could smell the rubber of the wheels amidst the rumbling of the motor. "Are you planning to smooth out the wheels?" "I can already smell the rubber of the wheels." G3 was worried that the wheels would be worn out if he continued to step on the accelerator at such a high speed. Yi Qian curved his lips and smiled at him. He reversed the car smoothly and flew down the steep slope. G3, who was trying his best to sit still, was pushed back by the sudden reverse speed. As the car swayed, his body was also thrown left and right. He couldn't sit properly at all. Yi Qian, who was on the steep slope, suddenly reversed the car. The recruits in the other 3 cars immediately felt that something was wrong. They could understand why he didn't dare to make a big turn and stayed still, but they couldn't understand why he suddenly reversed the car. There must be a trap. The recruits, who were scared by Xia Jinyuan, were alarmed. The recruit in the first car said he suddenly reversed from the steep slope and stepped on the accelerator at the same spot. "Be careful. It might be a trap." Captain is famous for being sly. Staying still doesn't eliminate the possibility of a trap. Slow down and be careful. Could it be that he knows that the front is blocked and wants to charge backwards? The recruits who were rushing towards the second carriage slowed down their speed and stopped rushing forward. If there really was a trap, they would be the unlucky ones again. They had suffered many losses in the hands of their captain. Carriage number 3 also slowed down and stopped pressing forward. If there really was a trap, and they were biting so hard, the consequences, they didn't dare to imagine what would happen, but they definitely wouldn't have a good ending. In one breath, he reversed the car halfway down the steep slope. The wheels sank into a mud puddle. Before the G3 could react, Yi Qian switched the car into neutral and stepped on the accelerator again. The 4 wheels spun on the spot and rubbed against the snow-soaked mountain road. Snow, mud, dead leaves, and debris flew in all directions. Amidst the irritating sound of the motor, The G3 gripped the handle in the car even harder. As the wheels continuously rubbed against the mountain road, the originally pockmarked mountain road became even deeper. Yiqian, with his deep eyes, seemed to think of something. He stared at the rearview mirror and asked the G3, "If I win, does it count as defeating 3 recruits?" The G3, who estimated his tolerance, couldn't speak. The bitter bile had already rushed to his throat. He was really afraid that if he opened his mouth, he would vomit it out. Thus, he nodded, indicating that it counted. Chapter 32:22. If that counted. Yi Jian glanced at the rearview mirror on both sides, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She said to G3, who could not help but retch, "G3, sit tight. I haven't driven a commuter car in a long time, and my hands are still a little rusty. You have to bear with me." "Rusty? You're being too humble." He didn't need to look to know that his face was ashen. It was all due to his stomach churning. Yi Jian stepped on the accelerator again. Her eyes were cold, and the faint smile on her lips became colder. "If they can't even surpass me, they really don't have the right to challenge King Q." Captain Xia said that she needed a little more ambition. Then, she would have a little more ambition. She defeated 30 recruits in a week. Now, she would defeat the 3 recruits who were close behind her. Virum, virum, virum. The car's motor made a deafening sound. The 4 wheels rolled at high speed. After a minute, there were 4 deep pits on the mountain road. G3, who had forced the bile back down, reached out and pressed the rearview mirror on his side towards the road. When he saw the pit she had made on a mountain road, he couldn't help but laugh. "We'll have to get them to fill in the pit later. With their skills, they'll fall into the pit you made." G3's pupils suddenly contracted. He looked at the cold female soldier in disbelief. "Qing Yao, you plan to make them all fall into the pit? This is the mountain." Falling into the mountain would cause the car to flip. Yi Qian didn't deny it. He said calmly, "They treat me as Q King and issued a challenge. Naturally, I have to accept the challenge. As for whether they will flip down the mountain or not, that will depend on how high their level is. The entire road is 5 meters wide. The largest turn is 6 meters wide. If they can't even avoid a few pits on such a wide mountain road and cause the car to flip with their level, they still want to challenge Q King?" The warrior we're driving now is good at cross-country. It can climb hills, cross rivers, and flip pits. The smallest turn radius is 12 meters, and the depth of the water is 0. The mountain road we're driving on is so wide. As long as their level is up to standard, they can completely avoid it. Even if you really fail, it's because you're not as good as others. She had already calculated everything. Even the crater was on a straight line, giving the commuter cars behind enough time to react. If they were to fail like this, they would have to train for another year or so before challenging Captain Xia. After all, her current level was not comparable to Captain Xia's. The military off-road vehicles had beaten him a few times. G3 was speechless when he heard that. That was right. He could not blame anyone if he was not as skilled as others. He could only blame himself for not being as skilled as others. He had to admit that he had failed. However, looking at the location of the pit, as long as it was discovered in time, the car wouldn't overturn. If it wasn't discovered in time, or if it wasn't handled properly, then it would be better to save the car if it overturned. Yi Qian turned on the radar and pulled up the route of the entire mountain training ground. He saw a few zigzags and S-shaped mountain paths. He stepped on the accelerator twice in a row to raise the horsepower rhythmically. Then, he stepped on the accelerator heavily. G3's body leaned back first, then suddenly leaned forward. Yi Qian drove the warrior commuter car out of the pit created by the wheels. Then, he sped off and made a 180-degree turn. Yi Qian drove the commuter car with the momentum of a tank. After a minute, the place where he stopped was a mess. The thick snow on both sides of the rugged mountain road was splashed with mud. The pure white snow was covered with a thick layer of yellow mud. Chapter 32:23. The speed of the car was very fast. After rushing up the steep slope, the G3 still hadn't caught its breath. Yi Jian then sped up and made a 180-degree turn. Even he, who was sitting in the car, didn't have time to react, let alone the few commuter cars that were following closely behind. The move came out of the blue and caught the rookies at the back off guard. By the time they reacted, the car in front had already sped up the steep slope and disappeared before their eyes. G3 used the car's microphone to contact the surveillance center. Qing Yao plans to set them up. I think the car will flip over. Just in case, let's send someone to prepare first. If something really happens, we'll be able to rescue them immediately. The sound was not continuous. Instead, it paused after the car jolted violently. The comrades in the surveillance center heard that and immediately zoomed in on the spot where Yi Qian stopped on the steep slope. Good Lord, it's a trap. There were 4 very deep pits. If the speed was too fast and they were not careful, they would fall into the pits. Under the huge inertia, the car could flip over. Wai clapped his hands and cheered. Good, good. As expected of Qing Yao. Amazing. You're still cheering? Quickly inform a few brothers to provide support. If the car flips over, the rookies inside will suffer some flesh wounds. Pigeon's heart was a little tense. Qing Yao seemed to have overestimated the rookies' standards. The rookies that were selected were indeed top students, but how could they be as proficient as Qing Yao? For example, the rookie in car number 1 was a prodigy. He graduated from University of Science and Technology of China at the age of 17. Needless to say, his professional standards were excellent. He had represented the country and won several awards. His individual combat ability was also quite strong. In the team, he could solo his comrades in the same class. His marksmanship was the best in the team for 2 years in a row. His military qualities and capabilities were considered excellent. However, no matter how good he was, he had never driven a commuter car in the previous army. He had driven off-road vehicles and transport vehicles before. The rookie in car number 3 had driven a commuter car before, but he had his own specialization. If you asked him to compete with Y and X to see who could hack a big website first, he would definitely be better than them. His reaction was also quite fast, especially his marksmanship. It could be said that if he claimed to be second among the rookies, no one would dare claim to be first. But he was still not as proficient as Qing Yao, who was proficient in all 18 types of martial arts and could use them all. Pigeon immediately contacted Xia Jinyuan and reported Yi Qian's plan to him. In exchange, Comrade Xia Jinyuan smiled faintly and said, "Then send our brothers to guard the car. If the car overturns, rescue them. Take care of the minor injuries yourself. We will help with the major injuries. If there are any broken bones, just send them to the hospital." As for whether or not there would be any life-threatening accidents, it was not uncommon for there to be life-threatening accidents in the Shuiyu base. It would depend on the individual's ability to avoid the danger. Why did the 30 new recruits submit to him as their captain? Yet, they refused to lower their heads. To put it bluntly, they were once the pride of the heavens, only to realize that they were nothing when they came here. Their original unit had coaxed them and treated them with respect, but when they came here, they all became cowards. The difference was something that even he, who had been parachuted here, could not accept. He could not accept it at the time, but it was his duty, and he knew that he had to improve the situation. However, the recruits were different. Each and every one of them was selected from various military regions and branches of the military. They were worthy of being called elites, just by their achievements, which one of them could be called beautiful. Almost all of them had received awards, and all of them had performed meritorious deeds. Even as the captain, he was dazzled by them. Chapter 32-24. He brought the candidates up and looked at their resumes. In front of Major General Yang, he didn't hold back and directly said, "I, King, chose a group of little ancestors." One by one, they were full of ambition and a sense of superiority. They thought that as long as they reached the base, they would be able to defeat thousands of soldiers and horses. At the same time, they would be able to crush the waves in front of them. From then on, there would be no place for the veterans in the team. It would all become their world. That arrogance and the courage to fight for the top was indeed rare. He wasn't afraid of their arrogance or ruthlessness. He was only afraid that one or two of them would be cowards. At the same time, he wanted to teach them a few life philosophy lessons. He wanted to tell them, don't be so arrogant. There is always someone better than you. Be careful and be humble. He wanted to, but this group of recruits didn't want to. Since they didn't want to, then he would use force. The fist was the truth. Sometimes it really worked in the army. After taking care of them 3 times, the arrogance in each and every one of them had diminished quite a bit. Their negative emotions would rise one moment, and then they would keep a low profile the next. After being taught a lesson again, they were provoked by his contemptuous gaze. Each and every one of them was suppressing a ball of fire in their hearts. They swore together that they would definitely defeat this captain and make him obediently say in front of the whole team, sorry, I was wrong. Let him admit his mistake. Sure, let's defeat him first. Before defeating him, let's see if they can defeat Qing Yao. If they couldn't defeat her this time, don't blame him for giving them a contemptuous look again. Tell Qing Yao to not be merciful. Beat each and every one of them until they're covered in cuts and bruises. As the captain, I really need her help. The recruits who didn't know that they were waiting to be despised once again rose up to pressure Yi Qian. When Yi Qian stopped at the steep slope, they misunderstood that Xia Jinyuan was deliberately provoking them and looking down on them. The anger in their hearts was so stifling that their internal organs were burning. If he stops again, we'll rush up directly. Who cares if he stops or not? Let's force him to a dead end first. Recruit number 1's gaze was like a coal knife. With a fierce expression, he took the lead and rushed up the steep slope. Today, he had to force the captain to a dead end. Okay, let's charge together. Let the brothers blocking the road below increase the horsepower and rush up. The brothers above should also dive down directly. Let's make it so that he has no way out. The special military vehicle training base occupied 2 mountains. When Yi Qian drove G3 into the mountains, he saw a few vehicles in front of him practicing climbing up the slope. G3 let her directly rush out from the side and meet the recruits at the top of the mountain. She didn't expect that the recruits would misunderstand what she thought was a simple special move. They even thought that she was Xia Jinyuan. Then, an inexplicable competition began. Then, she heard from G3 that they had provoked Q King. Only then did Yi Jian have the intention to compete with them. To say that Q King's training was inhumane and inhumane. She had to defeat 30 recruits in a week to enter the veteran camp for training. Her blood-boiling battle genes were all stimulated, and she began to bicker with the recruits on the first day. There's a traffic jam ahead. Qing Yao, there's no way out. Hearing the sound of a motor coming from the bend ahead, the pale-faced G3 reminded her in a deep voice. Just now, he opened the car window and vomited a mouthful of bile. Now, he felt much better and was much more focused. Chapter 32-25. After receiving Xia Jinyuan's latest instructions, Yi Qian's lips curled up slightly. His voice had an indescribable arrogance. Just in time, I'll show them how arrogant I am. You'll make them feel ashamed. Since you dared to provoke Q King's majesty, you should be aware that you're ashamed. You're protecting him? Of course. He's my captain and my comrade. Of course I'll protect him. He didn't even mention the boyfriend relationship. G3 laughed and said to Xia Jinyuan, who was already sitting in the monitoring center, "Did you hear that, Q King? Our female soldier is protecting you. Are you touched?" "Yes, I'm very touched. Tell Qing Yao that I really need her protection right now." Lieutenant Colonel Xia's shameless reply made his comrades in the monitoring center glance at him out of the corner of their eyes. How shameless! G3 turned his head and told Yi Qian his exact words. Yi Qian smiled and said, "If I defeat 30 recruits in a week, Q King, will there be any rewards? For example, let me learn how to pilot a fighter jet?" The female soldier's clear and deep voice rang in everyone's ears like jade beads, making the comrades in the monitoring center smile knowingly. Good Lord, she's quite ambitious. Now it's up to Q King to answer. Sure, as long as you defeat 30 recruits in a week, I'll personally teach you how to pilot a fighter jet. Xia Jinyuan's deep voice rang out slowly with a hint of mischievousness. It was like a hook that gently tickled Yi Qian's heart. With this guarantee, Yi Qian was even more motivated. G3, put on your helmet. Don't hit your head. The motivated Yi Qian stared at the two commuter cars that were speeding around the corner. They were so fast that they were like a flash of green in a snowy white world. In the blink of an eye, they were nowhere to be seen. Yi Qian glanced at the radar. After another turn, they would be facing each other. When they met, it would be a steep slope. She would go down, and they would go up. With a glint in his eyes, Yi Qian pursed his lips and began the first round of direct confrontation. Boom! Boom! The sound of the warrior commuter car's motor was getting louder and louder. The speed of the car was so fast that the scenery on both sides of the car became blurred frame by frame. G3 knew that she was serious this time. He stared ahead with a cold expression and told Yi Qian about the surrounding situation. The flashing red dots on the car's radar screen were getting closer and closer. This meant that Yi Qian's car was getting closer and closer to the oncoming car. Finally, Yi Qian reached the top of the steep slope. The commuter cars blocking the road ahead began to speed up. Number 9, the target vehicle has appeared. The target vehicle has appeared. Force it to stop. Roger, number 9. Number 11, and I will move side by side. Good. Captain is cunning and scheming. Be careful. Okay, you guys block his rear. Leave the front to us. Leave the front to us. Yi Jian had already appeared in the line of sight of team number 9 and team number 11. Then, they saw the target's car coming down from the top of the steep slope as if it had gone crazy. First, it stopped, then it came down with a loud boom. Number 9 was shocked. F*CK. Is he trying to perish together with us? Let's charge straight ahead, too. I don't believe he's willing to perish together with us. Recruit number 10 didn't believe in superstitions. If they were going to charge, they would charge together. Let's see who break first. Yi Qian didn't even think about braking. What was she trying to do? Was she trying to block her path with two cars side by side? That was too simple. Chapter 32:26. The military special warrior commuter car was different from the warrior commuter car outside. It was better at climbing, crossing hills, and flipping over pits than the average commuter car. Due to its high speed and the danger of overturning when turning corners too abruptly, it was nicknamed the Battalion Killer. Captain Xiao once told her that this car had another advantage, which was its ability to go off-road in the air. On a certain slope, as long as the accelerator was applied properly and the driver was nimble, they could find a spot and fly over. In order to convince her, he even tried driving twice. Now, let her try to soar into the air. Number 9 and number 10 rushed up from the bottom of the slope. Seeing the three cars getting closer and closer, number 9 yelled, "Crazy! Is he crazy? Let's go crazy together." Number 10 had also gone crazy. He had no intention of dodging at all. He charged at the car that was rushing down. Then he saw the target car suddenly drive into the protruding pits on both sides of the road. With a heavy step on the accelerator, the car flew. F*CK. He really F*King flew. It flew over the top of their car. When the comrades in the monitoring center saw this, they burst into loud laughter and even applauded a few times. Amazing, really amazing. Q King, this is your ultimate move. Looks like Qing Niao learned it from you. Pigeon, who finally knew where Qing Niao learned it from, let out a long sigh. My heart can finally be put back to rest. Compared to the recruits, he was actually more worried about Qing Niao. Although the skills of the recruits were not as good as those in their team, it was still not bad. As for Qing Niao's driving skills, it looked very good, but they were still a little worried. Now that he knew, he was absolutely relieved. Xia Jinyuan looked indifferent. Qing Niao's understanding is not bad, and her skills are not bad. It's a waste to let her practice with the recruits. She beat me 3 times in a row in an off-road car. She can complete a one-sided sidewheel pass. Some comrades in the team have seen it, and these mountain roads are nothing to her. Looks like there's going to be another all-round soldier king in our team, and it's a female soldier king too. Why side? Female soldiers are already so powerful. The pressure is a little too much. Qing Niao became the first female soldier to join the Snowfield Brigade. Her abilities are already stronger than our male soldiers. Pigeon smiled and said, "A different female soldier, an extraordinary female soldier. In the future, our male soldiers will have to take it easy and not fall too far behind Qing Niao. Falling too far behind would be a disgrace." But now, it was the recruits who had lost face. Watching the vehicle fly over their roofs, Number 9 and Number 10 raised their eyes abruptly and observed the situation behind them through the central rear-view mirror. They saw the target vehicle steadily land and accelerate away. That swiftness and ferocity simply did not give others a chance to crush him. "What's going on over there? You didn't block the target vehicle?" The recruits in car number 1, who had been tailing Yi Qian closely, noticed on their radar that their target car had broken out of their encirclement. Their brows furrowed so tightly that they were in a knot. The 2 cars in front of them were driving side by side to block the road, but they still couldn't block the captain's car. "His car flew over our roofs. We couldn't block it, even if we wanted to," Number 9 answered with a gloomy expression. "To be able to drive like that, I don't know how much better he is compared to us." They thought they could definitely block the captain, but in the end, the result was cruel and realistic. The recruits in car number 1, car number 2, and car number 3 were stunned for a long time after hearing that. Flying over the vehicles. Indeed, they couldn't block it. Then, another group of comrades said, "5 of your cars couldn't block the captain? He took a shortcut to the top of the mountain. Brothers on the top of the mountain, get ready." Chapter 32:27. This time, the recruits in the first to third cars didn't answer their comrades. The recruit in the second car was the first to charge towards the slope where Yi Qian had parked. He stepped on the accelerator and wanted to speed up the slope, but the accident happened so quickly that he didn't have time to react at all. The front wheels crashed into 2 deep pits with a bang. Because the speed was too fast, the pitted front wheels were hit. Under the inertia, the whole car directly flipped over. Then, there were 2 loud bang-bang sounds. The whole Warrior commuter car was flipped upside down. The comrades in the 2 cars behind were shocked. They hit the brakes repeatedly on the slope, and their faces were a little pale. Only then did they manage to stop the car and avoid a rear collision. The wheels of the second car were still spinning quickly. It was obvious how fast he was driving at that time. The recruit in the car who had been maintaining contact with the other teams was still quite clear-headed. After the spin, he curled up and grimaced. "I didn't block it, and F***king flipped over." The comms instantly exploded. "F***ck, you flipped over? Are you for real? How can it be fake? Number 2, how's your situation? Are you okay? You really flipped over? How did you flip over? Quick, help. Even the car flipped over. How fierce is the captain? Brothers, can we block it? Brother number 2, from your voice, you don't seem to be seriously injured. Take care, wait for the other brothers to come and help. Number 2, how's the situation? Did you flip over on the spot or flip over?" Countless voices came from the comms. Recruit number 2, who was curled up to the point his ribs hurt, tried his best to open himself up. He answered all his brothers in a muffled voice. "I flipped over on the spot. I'm fine, I won't die. You guys have to block it. This is a good opportunity to hold your heads high. You have to seize it." They were still thinking about holding their heads high, even after flipping over. It was obvious how deep their obsession was. Before they finished communicating, a roar came. "The target car is breaking through. The target car is breaking through. Take a shortcut at section S26. Section S26 is a 2-way bridge. It's a good opportunity. Block it. Brother number 2, take care. Brothers will avenge you. F***ck, avenge my ass." They didn't take a shortcut at section S26, and now they're back. Number 16 fell for it. The target car reversed and charged straight ahead. F*CK. Number 16, hurry up and fucking force the captain to stop. Recruit number 16 watched as the target vehicle brushed past the edge of the mountain road and passed under his eyes. As the vehicle passed by, he seemed to see the captain driving the car, who seemed to be a few sizes smaller. He didn't seem like the captain at all. Looking outside, recruit number 16's heart pounded uncontrollably. The captain, who seemed to be a few sizes smaller, drove the car to the edge of the mountain road. Judging from the tire tracks left behind, recruit number 16 answered his brothers. The captain, who was a few sizes smaller, drove past the edge of the mountain road. Half of the outer tire was outside, and the other half was hanging in the air. The entire channel was instantly turned off, and everyone went silent. The whole process took about 1 minute. Car number 2 overturned and exploded. After 1 minute, everything returned to normal. Only the sound of recruit number 2 panting could be heard. As for the number 16 recruit's captain, who is a few sizes smaller, it was ignored. Surveillance center, car number 2 has overturned. Car number 2 has overturned. The recruits in car 3, who had turned off all channels, stopped the car and unfastened their seatbelts. They immediately contacted the monitoring center. They didn't know what the situation was like in car 2, but they had to contact the higher-ups immediately since an accident had occurred. Once someone was injured, they could immediately receive support. Chapter 32:28. The recruit in the first car parked and unbuckled his seatbelt. He practically kicked the car door open and quickly ran to the second car that had flipped over. When the car hit the deep pit created by Yi Qian, the veterans in the monitoring center knew that the car was definitely going to flip over. It could be said that they saw the car flip over on its back through the screen. Go check on the situation of the people in the second car. Backup is on the way. Calm down and deal with the sudden accident. Xia Jinyuan's voice came from the car's communicator. The recruit in the third car was stunned. It was their captain. Their captain was watching them train in the monitoring center. He didn't drive the commuter car to train with them. Then who was the person who was competing with them? Was it the instructor? No, that's impossible. The instructor didn't even come back. Could it be the assistant instructor? But the assistant instructor said that he wouldn't be training with them today. Then who was the person who was competing with them? In a short period of time, the recruit in the third car thought of countless veterans who might be competing with them. In the end, he rejected them one by one. There was no time to think about it. The recruit in the third car replied, yes, and immediately got out of the car to check on the situation of the people in the second car. The first car that ran out saw the deep pit on the mountain road. It was so deep that it almost reached the bottom of the commuter car. Thinking that the target car was parked on the slope and not moving, the recruit in the first car gritted his teeth and said fiercely, damn it. Are they trying to report the casualties? He didn't dare to look anymore. He rushed to the driver's seat of the second car and saw that the recruit in the second car was unbuckling his seatbelt and preparing to climb out. The recruit in the first car slapped the car window hard and signaled his comrade to open the car door first. The recruit in the second car, who was dizzy from the overturn, opened the car lock in the blink of an eye. When a recruit in the first car heard the car lock being unlocked, he pulled the handle with all his might. The door opened, and his body twisted strangely. His head was facing the door, and his body was curled up. The recruit in the second car, who was leaning towards the front passenger seat, fell out. The recruit in the first car hurriedly supported his comrade. Because he was too worried, the muscles in his arms were as hard as stone, preventing his comrade from climbing out by himself. Don't move, I'll carry you out. The Warrior commuter cars used for the Special Forces training at the Snowfield Brigade base were all custom-made, and their safety features were much more stable. Apart from the damage to the exterior of the car and the dizziness of the people inside, there were no other problems. The recruits in the third carriage who had rushed over immediately helped. They placed the fallen recruit in the second carriage flat on the muddy mountain road. Help me take off my helmet. The recruit in the second carriage was lying flat on his back with his eyes closed. His face was extremely pale, and his hands and feet were trembling slightly. When the car suddenly flipped over, he really thought that he would fall down the mountain with the car. At this moment, even if he was lying on the cold and wet side of the mountain road, his heart was at ease. His life was finally picked up. He did not lose it. The recruit in the third car took off his comrade's helmet and asked with a tense expression, "Is there anything wrong? Don't hold it in. I just contacted the surveillance center, and they have already sent someone over to ask for help." The recruit in the first car had already checked if his comrade was bleeding. He carefully lifted his comrade's arms and asked in a soft voice, "Does it hurt anywhere?" No, my body is fine, just a little dizzy." The recruit in the second car raised his hand to cover his undulating chest and said with lingering fear, "Just now I really thought that I would fall down the mountain." Chapter 32:29. Don't talk nonsense. There are old trees and old roots outside. The shrubs are as thick as a child's arm. Even if we go down, we'll be blocked. We won't be able to go down the mountain. Car number 3 saw that his comrade's face was pale, but his speech was clear. There were no major problems with his body. Only then did he relax. Lie down and rest. Wait for the rescue team to arrive before you get up. The competition hasn't ended yet. There's no need for rescue. I'm fine. I was just shocked. Car number 2 was still thinking about the competition. He immediately asked, "What's the situation now? Is the road blocked?" When your car flipped, the two of us quickly jumped over. "We really don't know what's going on in front. Leave the competition to us. Why are you still thinking about the competition when you're already like this? Even though you're not bleeding, you should still go for a checkup." Car number 1 was bending his comrade's legs. "Does it hurt?" "It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. I'm really not injured." After catching his breath, car number 2 didn't lie down anymore. He supported his body with one hand. He knew his body's condition better than anyone else. "I'm really fine. Let's go. I'll sit in your car. Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to beat Captain today?" Car number 3 saw that his comrade's face was gradually recovering. There were no problems with his limbs and neck. He knew that he wasn't injured. He patted his comrade who still wanted to compete. His gaze swept across the faces of his 2 comrades. This isn't a competition to begin with. There's no need to continue. Car number 1, help him walk a few steps. I'll go tell the other comrades that there's no need to block the target's car. Car number 1 couldn't take it anymore. He ground his teeth. "We have to compete. Mother of Asterisker, look at the deep holes. They were made by him. I was wondering why he didn't move. It turns out that he was already playing tricks on us. If you have the ability, then do it openly. What's the point of playing tricks?" Car number 2, whose car had flipped, heard this. He didn't sit down and slowly panicked. He immediately stood up and rushed to the flipped car to check it. As expected, the 4 deep holes were all made by the wheels. Because he was too fast and didn't pay attention to the deep holes while going up a slope, his front wheel was the first to sink. The inertia caused the car to tilt forward, causing it to flip. I was wondering how he could flip while going up a slope. It turns out he was tricked. No, this competition can't end. There has to be an end to it. He's already been tricked into overturning the car, and he still wants to report the casualties? The inhumane training before was one thing, but what is this? This is murder. The angry recruit in the second car spoke without thinking. The recruit in the third carriage was much more mature. He scolded, "Shut up." These are all considered avoiding danger. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? There are so many dangerous situations on the mountain path, and there are even more dangerous ones than this. How dare you talk about murder? Why don't you say that your skills are not as good as others and that you don't know how to react in advance? After being reprimanded, the recruit in the second carriage knew that he had gone too far, but he couldn't swallow his anger. He bit his cheeks so hard that the muscles on his cheeks could be faintly seen. Thinking about the various dangers and obstacles on the mountain road, as well as the various special training on the training ground, the recruits in the first carriage also fell silent. His comrade was right. Who could he blame for not knowing how to react in advance when his skills were inferior? Seeing that his 2 comrades had gone silent, the much more steady recruit in the third car said, I also want to tell you, too, some bad news. The captain that we want to defeat is currently sitting in the monitoring center watching us compete. In other words, the person we are competing with is not the captain, nor is it the instructor or the assistant instructor. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.